NBC Sports Network welcomes you to the following presentation of the IZOD IndyCar Series.
For the second day in a row, the stars of IndyCar have literally taken over the streets of downtown Toronto. And thousands of fans have been entering by the iconic Prince's Gate to catch race 2 of this weekend's doubleheader. Scott Dixon, who won yesterday's race and is on the pole today in his attempt to win 3 races in a row. The guy who finished runner-up to him yesterday, Sebastian Bourdais, had plenty of reason to celebrate and looks to hold on to the winner's trophy today. And rivals Dario Franchitti and Will Power, with 5 Toronto wins between them, will look to avoid yesterday's controversy. It's time to welcome you to IndyCar Live, presented by Verizon, where we'll set the stage for race 2 of this Toronto twin bill. This 1 3/4 mile course is located, of course, on the shores of Lake Ontario, and there we are there. We're located in the middle of Exhibition Place at the top of BMO Field, of course home to the MLS soccer team, Toronto FC. Hi folks, Lee Diffie with you here live in Toronto, Canada for the second day of what is known as Honda Indy 2 in Toronto, or what all of you have been tweeting, 2 in TO. And we're really looking forward to today based on yesterday. If you didn't see what happened, it was incredible. Let's give you some of the highlights, because Scott Dixon notched up his 31st IndyCar career win in a thrilling victory. His teammate Dario Franchitti was in the middle of controversy. He originally finished 3rd, was later penalised for blocking his rival Will Power, and then after we went off the air when we farewelled you, that penalty was reversed. We'll talk a lot more about that. Unfortunately, Ryan Briscoe was in the wrong place at the wrong time in a collision and has a fractured wrist. And then, of course, yesterday's headline was standing starts. We ended up not having one, but guess what? We are today, and we're really looking forward to that. So the countdown is on. When today's race is finished, we've only got 6 races left in the 2013 season, but there's plenty of action to come. Yesterday's race had 5 different leaders, but guess what? The man who led the most laps did not win the race. Let's turn back on yesterday.
This is the raciest street circuit on the schedule, and Toronto is jungle warfare.
It's an all-star front row with Dario Franchitti and Sebastian Bourdais.
We have an abort. We have an abort.
Oh, there stalled his car on the front straight.
Right. Means is we're going to go to a rolling start.
Racing. Will Power forces his way down the inside.
OTA's forcing the issue.
There's no second chances here.
A is out of push to pass. He is completely exposed to Dixon.
Blows by Sebastian Bourdais. New race leader, Scott Dixon. Power on Franchitti. Inside goes.
Oh no!
Dixon gets back-to-back victories. This guy is staging his championship run. Awesome result for Sebastian Bourdais.
What a clinic by Scott Dixon.
So we're in the middle of a Scott Dixon, Chip Ganassi Racing power run at the moment. But how about Sebastian Bourdais? The Frenchman really needed a result like that. It has been a long time coming. And as we mentioned earlier, Franchitti was 3rd, then he was dropped to 13th, then he went back up to 3rd. If you look a little further down the page, the hometown hero James Hinchcliffe got his best ever Toronto result, and Simona Di Silvestro slipped into the top 10 as well. So much to talk about today, but also about yesterday. Let's start with Brian Till. Brian?
Well, Scott Dixon has won the last 2 IndyCar races in a row, including the one here yesterday. Scott, that's moved you to 3rd in the championship. But I think the other thing that you guys have captured is momentum, and it's so hard to do. How important is that in the run to the championship?
We definitely need it. You know, I think it was Pocono was a very important time for us. You know, sort of going into the race as underdogs. Really, we didn't have the speed. You know, we qualified 7th, but you know the first 6 cars were Chevys. So to win in that scenario, I think was something that was big for us. Yeah, it was a bit of fuel mileage, but also great race management too. But you know, we had a test at Sebring, I think a few weeks ago, which is not always fun in the middle of summer in Sebring. But you know, I think we cured not so much cured, but found out a lot of the directions that we'd started at the start of the season where we'd gone wrong. So I think that's helped a lot. The team's got a little bit of confidence at the minute, but it's day 2 at Toronto. It's a new day. It's a totally different day, and anything could happen, as we saw yesterday. So I'm just hoping for a clean race. Hopefully we get off the starting grid, the very first attempt, because I think we're going to keep doing it until we get it right. But hopefully we stay clean and put on a good show for everybody here in Toronto.
And if he can win race number 2, it's a $100,000 bonus to win both of the rounds here at Toronto. This is not the only team with some momentum. Here's Jan Bikas.
And Brian, what a turnaround yesterday for Dragon Racing. Sebastian Bourdais led 20 laps, ended up finishing second. But for you, it was emotional. It was like a win.
It was like a win. Obviously, everything that happened last year where we couldn't get the results, and this year being just plain slow, finally finding some speed in the car and being able to contend for the lead and finishing on the podium just felt like a win for us.
It was a great celebration, but unfortunately what has hit all the highlight reels across the nation, maybe the world, is what happened with the Crystal Trophy in Victory Lane.
That's all right, we got another one. Just the guy just gave me the whole thing, and I didn't know it wasn't attached to the crystal. So when I picked up the base, obviously the ball rolled off. But I guess it made for good media.
Well, it did make for good media, but the great news is Sebastian already has a replacement for his mantle. Lee?
And Jan, he said, I noticed Scott Dixon wasn't doing a victory burnout, so I was certainly going to do one for second. Let's show you the points after 12 of 19 races. Castro Neves is still your championship leader by 39, but have a look at Scott Dixon in third. He made up 3 championship places last weekend in Pocono and 1 yesterday, so 4 places in 2 races. He is the man on the move. Now, that's pertinent to focus on Dixon, 42 points out of the lead, because have a look at this graphic. With the same amount of races left in the season, 7, his teammate Dario Franchitti won the 2010 title. He was second, 42 back. And just last year, Ryan Hunter-Reay was 4th in the championship with 7 to go, and he was 41 back. This is very, very achievable for Scott Dixon to win a 3rd IndyCar Series title. So a beautiful day here in Toronto, but I have to tell you it is hot and humid, more so than yesterday. And you want to talk about rivalries? Have a look at these 2 guys. They continue to clash. Franchitti and Power. Robin Miller will speak to them when we come back. This should be interesting. You're watching IndyCar Live, brought to you by Verizon. Just a gorgeous day in Ontario, Canada. One of the most infectious things about this race is just the wonderful atmosphere in downtown Toronto and the way that this city, Canada's largest city, embraces this event. And there's a real buzz around town, not only about the IndyCar doubleheader, but also about the DreamWorks animated motorsport movie Turbo. David Soren, its director, Dario Franchitti, film consultant, was there on Thursday night at the premiere, along with plenty of drivers.
It's a movie, I think, for everybody. So I was astonished, really, how good it was. That's the perfect type of setting for anyone that wants to be a driver or kids that want to be race car drivers one day. I think it's the perfect thing to look at and really look up to.
Terrific. I laughed, I cried. It was the full gamut of emotion.
Looked like a fun night. The guys certainly enjoyed it with their families and children, that's for sure. It doesn't matter what sport you're into, whether it's motorsport, football, tennis, whatever it might be, history seems to repeat itself at certain venues. Well, that's the case here at Toronto on the street circuit at Turn 3 between 4-time series champ Dario Franchitti and 3-time runner-up Will Power. Guess what? It happened again yesterday.
Really disappointed in Dario. I always race him clean, and he always races me dirty.
He's quite right to be off there.
Does anyone ever penalise this guy?
Look at Power on Franchitti. Inside goes...
Oh no!
The 2 come together.
No! Wow! Dario Franchitti must be thinking, how did I get away with that one?
I don't know. I was defending. I did what I'd done all day, and I gave him the outside. And he wanted to go down the inside when there was half a car width. So he ricocheted off me and the wall, and I couldn't make the corner, and that's my fault. He's shaking his fist as he always does. Always somebody else's fault with Will.
Dario going into the wall.
Me and Dario just don't like Turn 3.
We have just heard from race control. Dario Franchitti has had a time penalty for blocking. It drops him all the way to 13th.
If you don't make a corner, you're out of control. Just play another guy. really ridiculous decision.
Unfortunately, the controversy, whether it be the call or the overturning of the penalty, has overshadowed Dixon's fine win. But what happened is post-race yesterday, when we went off the air, we told you of the penalty. However, when we woke this morning, we learned of the news that that penalty had been overturned. Now, with more on this is the President of Competition and Operations for the IndyCar Series, Derek Walker. He spoke with our Kevin Lee a little earlier.
Okay, thank you, Lee. Different circumstances yesterday, Derek, with an interim race director. First, who made the call, and then what was the process to overturn it?
Well, ultimately it was Brian Barnhart, but it was a group effort in race control. We looked at a lot of stuff up there and decided it was a penalty. Came down here to review it with more data, car data, meet with the team, and we had to say it was a close call, but we gave it back to Dario, so all was good.
One thing that's different today, which is the same, the original plan, you're going to try standing starts again.
Absolutely. I mean, the fans want to see it. In fact, I want to see it. So we're going to do it again today. We're going to try and do at least 2 shots at it if we have to. And then if we can't, then we'll put it off to another day and get on with the show.
Okay, thank you. That's Derek Walker, the President of Competition and Operations for IndyCar.
The best thing about auto racing are rivalries. And it's not necessarily Ali versus Frazier, but these two guys put on some of the best races the last couple, 3 years. And the rivalry kind of died down a little bit until yesterday. Is it back on?
It could be. It could be. I don't know. We did, as Will said, I don't think we liked turn 3. I was all right. Will came in the inside and hit me and stuff. I was all right with that because he made a mistake, I thought. When he started shaking his fist, I got all kind of bent out of shape about it. I'm like, look, it's nothing to do with me, man. And then the penalty came, and then I got really upset. We'll race each other the way we normally do, which is 99 times out of 100 we don't have an issue.
Yeah, I mean, it was last lap restart, and, no one wants to give up a position, and, obviously I wanted to gain a position, but it's very tight there, and, we touched, and that's racing. I mean, it's hard racing, and, the way IndyCar is these days, it's just a lot of biff and barge, because you actually can touch and not do damage.
Well, I don't sense any real hostility here, but the good news is he's in the front row, you're in the third row. You need a victory, and he needs a victory, so this might get interesting.
Yeah, I think so. We both had not a normal year. We're back there fighting for, 10th or 9th or whatever, but, it's become very competitive. But, at least we're both still at the front and battling it out.
Yeah, man. I mean, we're pushing for a win. Will's pushing. Scott's pushing. Elio's pushing for the championship there, man. It's so close. I'm sure we'll be fighting out again today. Yesterday, every lap was just like qualifying, just trying to gain an advantage somewhere. And I think we'll see more of it today. And we do see restarts. We're going to see guys sliding around again. More of that. Every time there's a restart, hold your breath because it's going to get interesting.
Okay, Lee. They're not going to dinner yet, but they're going to still be racing hard on the track.
Absolutely, Robin, and they're two of the best drivers not only in IndyCar but in the world, and you kind of get that feeling we're about to see round 3 of Franchitti versus Power. How about Simon Pagenaud? He's one of the best guys in IndyCar as well, and if you don't know, he's got quite the sense of humour. Take a look at this and we'll tell you the full story on the other side of the break.
Hello, can I make pizza today?
I would like an espresso.
Are you looking for a drink or just a shot of espresso?
Just a shot would be nice. Thank you very much. I'm coming for you.
Electricity is added to a guitar in rock and roll.
Countdown continues until we see the start of the second race of this Honda Indy 2 in Toronto doubleheader. And former IndyCar team owners Kim Green and Kevin Savary, who are now promoters, have done a really nice job with this event. There's something for everybody here at the Honda 2 in TO. And if you've never been to an IZOD IndyCar Series race, there's plenty coming up. We're at Mid-Ohio, we're at Sonoma in California, Baltimore, Houston for another doubleheader. If you've never been, head on out to one of the events because there's a whole lot of fun no matter how old you are. There is always something to do. And a quick reminder about the Verizon streaming, and to download the IndyCar 13 app, simply call ** Indy or search the App Store or Google Play, of course, only from Verizon. Simon Pagenaud, we mentioned before the break. Simon will start 12th today in this second race for the weekend. He was last year's Rookie of the Year. He's driven everything from rally cars to high-tech Le Mans prototypes and, of course, his regular job of being an IndyCar pilot. But a couple of weeks ago, the likeable Frenchman drove a Honda Odyssey minivan at the daunting Pikes Peak hill climb, but it wasn't your average minivan.
So Chris, this is Spike's Peak, man. This is one of the biggest races. We're here with Honda. What do you got for me?
Oh, we got something great lined up for you, man. You're really going to love it. She handles great.
This one?
No. This one over here.
The assistance car?
Yeah, this is your car right here.
Is it the one that carries the spare tires, right?
Yeah, the one that carries the spare tires. This is your race car, brother.
That's a race car?
Yes. This is a 550 horsepower Odyssey race car featuring the LMP2 engine from the Le Mans cars.
I'm racing a soccer mom's car. How cool is that?
This features a Honda V6 with a single turbo.
Nice.
Like I said, we will get about 550 horsepower. This is retrofitted with a 6-speed transmission out of a TL. What do you think?
It's good for the soccer mom. It's good for the daddies that want to have more horsepower and go to school to take their kids to school.
Those kids got to get to school.
Exactly. I got to say, I was really impressed with the attraction it got, and the smile on everybody's face when they see it is pretty cool.
I think a lot of people think it's a joke, but then once you get out there and start turning those times, they see that we're serious about it.
That's right.
Your Odyssey is going to be an exhibition class, which is the last class, but save the best for last.
Well, I've got a long time waiting. I think I'm going to take a little nap. Sweet dreams.
Will this be the day that Sebastian Loeb sets a new world record off high speed in the 91st running of the high speed?
Oh, it's going up. And the acceleration of the thing.
For the very first time, it just gives you
It's gone. Holy only 8:13.
Have concentrated on such little details.
That's quick.
Like this.
Okay, let's go. 7:50 next year. It was quite exciting to see Love doing that time, 8 minute 13. So it's going to be a hard record to beat. Almost out 10. This race is amazing. It really is. It's a sensation that you get from finishing, going at the end. It's a bit like the 24 Hours of Le Mans or the Indy 500. When you get to the top, when you get to the end, you really feel like you've accomplished something. It was very an interesting concept, and people can relate to this car on the road. It's a car that you can see at every stoplight, and it can go really fast as well.
Simon and the soccer mum's car did pretty well. They finished 96th out of 143 entries, and he was only about 4 minutes behind Sebastian Loeb's record-setting run. You can see all of that run at NBCSports.com. Steve and Townsend are up next to talk standing starts and a whole lot more. If yesterday's IndyCar Series race was anything to go by here in Toronto, you will want to stick around and watch today's second race in this double-header weekend. And we're pleased to say that it's time for GoPro to give us a look at the track with this week's GoPro course preview. It is back by popular demand. You have to see Steve Matchett.
Here's our start-finish line. We're going to do a standing start here for the first time ever in IndyCar.
Yeah.
Race 2. Turn 1 here. Welcome to Toronto and welcome to IndyCar, Steve. This is all right, Brian entering the back straight here. Kind of a flat-out track. A lot bumpier, a lot manlier than those Formula One ultra-smooth European tracks that you're used to.
Yeah, I've heard about the nature of this track being very bumpy, and the brakes probably not quite as precise as they would be on a smooth track. Should we try those brakes?
Well, this is the key brake zone. This is braking for turn 3. What's really cool about this corner is you can pass on the outside, because if you hang to the outside, you get right here, and all of a sudden you've got the advantage for the left-hand kink approaching turn 5.
Yeah, very good. Well, the brakes do seem to be working. Yeah. All right. Well, it's nice to get them up to temperature. And the rear of the car seems to step out quite nicely as well there. So
now this is one of the most challenging parts I find right here. This left-hander, you're going to wait on the front end to grab, try to keep it off the wall. It's hard to find where the wall actually
the wall right here, right here. That's one thing I've noticed about this truck. Going around with you, there's no runoff area at all, is there?
It's kind of a blind corner. And again, a fun section here. This next corner, you can use a ton of curve. Let's see how much we can get away with here in this Honda Accord.
Oh yeah, just about much. Wow!
And onto this next corner. Welcome to Toronto. And that's a lap for you, Steve. Welcome to IndyCar.
Whoa.
I hope you DVR'd that, because it's worth a look every time, isn't it? It gets better and better. There is the hometown hero, James Hinchcliffe. How about Carlos Munoz? He's getting ready in the Panther car. The young man who dazzled us at the Indianapolis 500 this year, and Tagliani, one of two Canadians in this race. We wish him well today. Hi, folks. Lee Diffie along with Townsend Bell. Steve Matchett, you're all right now. You've calmed down. Hey, and thank you for your concern via Twitter. A lot of you tweeted that the guys were not wearing seatbelts. In fact, they were. They were wearing lap sashes, so they were correctly restrained. Steve,
thank goodness we were, quite frankly.
That's the fun side of it. Let's get down to something serious. We really built up, and we were looking forward to the standing starts yesterday. It got aborted, and we went on and we had a race. We had a great race. But today we're going to do it again. What are your thoughts?
Well, what happened yesterday, really, we were wondering whether or not one or more of the guys would have been in trouble at the standing start because of the pressure. It was actually Joseph Newgarden back on row 10 that had problems with the anti-stall that cut in. We aborted the start, and then we went to the traditional rolling start. We're going to do it again today. But my concern, I've got to say, Lee, today is we were concerned about the temperatures building up yesterday, which is one reason why we only wanted to try and get one attempt at a standing start.
Yeah.
I understand today we're going to keep doing it until we get it right. But wow, it's going to be warm.
And it's 10 degrees warmer today. Yeah. It's a lot more humid today. Townsend, on to our next topic, and it's the controversial one, the move of power on Franchitti. You said to me in the booth, that's not called. They're not going to call that. And then in the end they did, and then in the end they reversed the decision. What do you make of it?
It was bizarre yesterday, but down there in turn 3, it seems like anything can happen. I mean, cars are running side by side all day long. We saw it earlier in the race. Here's 3 wide, almost 4 wide through turn 3. They're able to get through there, and then it funnels into single file here. For some reason, Will Power here, he is on Scott Dixon, insisted to go to the inside each time as kind of his gut instinct. Later with Dario Franchitti, he's got to run boom. He shoots to the inside, not a lot of room. He's on a very dirty section of track up the inside. If I'm Roger Penske, I'm going to tell Will Power today, Will, the probability of you making a pass in turn 3 is going to be much, much higher if you go to the outside. Recent evidence has shown that yesterday. So look for Will Power to use all that space on the outside to get the advantage to try to be on the inside for that next left-hand kick.
And we're going to tell you a lot more about the standing starts as well. That wraps up IndyCar Live, presented by Verizon. When we'll come back, we'll get the latest news from the boys on the ground. We'll show you the grid, and we will go racing. Standing starts coming up. As the summer swing of IndyCar continues, the Iceman, Scott Dixon, is on a hot streak. Starting last week in Pocono, he charged his way through the field to get the first win for Chip Ganassi Racing in almost a year.
Ganassi Racing will score a 1-2-3 finish.
Scott then headed north to Toronto, looking to make it 2 in a row, battling hard all day with Will Power.
Force the inside.
Whoa! That was huge!
He did not need to do that!
And Sebastian Bourdais, in the closing laps, timed a perfect pass.
He is on it and blows by Sebastian Bourdais.
Can the 2008 IndyCar champion double up in Toronto and make it 3 in a row in his charge to the top? On a gorgeous day in Ontario, Canada, Toronto is looking gorgeous. The country's biggest city is turning on another amazing open-wheel show as we welcome you to the Honda Indy 2 in Toronto, round 12 of the 2013 IZOD IndyCar Series, and we are ready to crank things up.
fans, are you ready? It's time for those most famous words in all of sports. From your Toronto Maple Leafs, please welcome back David Clarkson to give the command.
Drivers, start your engines.
Has been given. Next. Let us know, please.
One of the best things about these doubleheader weekends, and this is the second of 3. We've got another one in Houston later in the year. It gives us twice as much to talk about. Let's check in with the boys. Last minute news. Let's start with Jan Beekes.
And Helio Castroneves, of course, leads the championship, and he does so now for 7 races. That's the most races that he's led in a season for the championship. He's done it through consistency, but I think that consistent is going to be, he needs a better than consistent start with willpower the way he's been practicing. Right next to me, Robin Miller. Robin, what you got?
Jan, 2 races ago, Ryan Hunter-Reay was 9 points out of first place behind Helio Castroneves. He's had 2 disasters in a row. If anybody needs a good result today, it's this guy if he's going to win his second state championship, because he's 30 points out of the lead right now, Brian Till.
Simona Di Silvestro finished 10th yesterday. 3 of the 4 races she's run here, she's finished in the top 10. They've got a good, strong car. They had a string of races in the middle of the season they would just as soon forget. They're looking to get back to early season form, Kevin.
21-year-old rookie Carlos Munoz gets a second opportunity in IndyCar. He was the runner-up in the Indianapolis 500. He's here as a replacement for Ryan Briscoe, who broke his wrist yesterday. He's the championship leader in Firestone Indy Lights, drives for Michael Andretti's team, but they're giving him an opportunity. Another IndyCar start. So far, he's been fast and impressive from what we've seen.
Kevin, he was electrifying at the Indianapolis Pole Day and at the Indy 500. We'll see what he can do in an IndyCar on a street course. He is hugely talented, race winner, and as you mentioned, championship leader in Firestone Indy Lights. He's with the big boys and girls once again. We'll see what he can do. Has Hinch got troubles here? James Hinchcliffe.
Yeah, we saw him earlier on, just as the guys are getting ready to leave out of the pits. The mechanics still working feverishly away on the front of Hinchcliffe's car. They had the nose off and they had the damper panel off. There you see the nose off the car, and they seem to be working around the front suspension, but clearly they are not finished working on the car.
We will follow up on that story now in a short moment, but for now let's take a more detailed look at this track map. Townsend?
Well, Lee, we had a great race yesterday because we have a great track here for racing. Most of the action, as we talked about earlier, takes place in turn 3 because it's got a slow corner in turn 1 leading to a long straightaway with a heavy brake zone for the turn 3 hairpin. Then that left-hand kink, which is critical because it allows the attacking driver in turn 3 to confidently take the outside line, knowing that he will have the inside advantage at the exit. But for outright driving challenge, I always found turn 8 the toughest, a blind kink leading to a very bumpy off-camber brake zone. This Toronto track is a beast.
And if you would like to be on one of the IZOD IndyCar Series tracks in this 2-seater, the IZOD 2-seater, you can be. We've got races remaining this year. Simply be a part of Honda's fastest seat in sports sweepstakes by going to shophonda.com to sign up, and you could be sitting behind Ari Leyendijk or Mario Andretti. There it is, the IZOD 2-seater. All right, so we got dramas here. Jan, tell us more with Hinchcliffe.
We do, and this is not something you hear about very often. The throttle pedal is stuck for James Hinchcliffe. They're attempting to change that. You can see there's a spare just to the left of the mechanic having both hands inside. That is not an easy fix. This is going to be a long change, unfortunately, for hometown hero James Hinchcliffe. There's no way he's going to make this grid for the start.
And yesterday, throttle problems for Joseph Newgarden, who caused that aborted start. He had a throttle sensor problem. So that theme continues. Time to show us the grid. It's an all Ganassi front row. That's a talking point. But guys, I want to get underneath the surface. What are you looking for today based on yesterday, Townsend?
Well, I mean, look at a guy like Sebastian Bourdais. Had a terrible season, had a great day yesterday. Anybody can do anything, it seems like, this season. Simon Pagenaud could be very strong today. You've got a hard-charging Takuma Sato who's on probation. I mean, this is the season of uncertainty, Steve.
Yeah, it really is. And for me, it's the temperature. I mean, Ganassi have got a great start here. They're locked out the front row of the grid. If we can get this standing start off and underway, the Ganassi cars, Dario Franchitti, Scott Dixon, are going to be looking in the pound seats very good. But control of the red tyres. This heat is going to really start to degrade the red tyres very fast.
As we saw yesterday, some of the best shots come from inside the cars. This, with thanks to Acorn Stair Lifts, is the view James Jakes is going to give us today. And the young British driver is looking for a much improved run today. He was quick earlier in the weekend. This is Graham Rahal with thanks to battery tender. That's the onboard view of the Midas machine. Then we have this on board Charlie Kimball. This is thanks to Novolog Flex Pen, and this is the view that we did not want to see and Canadians did not want to see of James Hinchcliffe. For the National Guard car, Carlos Munoz is going to give us an interesting one. That's thanks to National Guard. And willpower, of course, Verizon. That's the view, and we remind you about Verizon streaming. And to download the IndyCar 13 app, simply call ** Indy or go to the App Store or Google Play with thanks to Verizon. So they're the different views you're going to get. The cars will come around and grid up. Poor old James Hinchcliffe, who got his best ever Toronto result yesterday, is sitting in pit lane. So we're going to take two. Standing starts. We hit the replay button on this. Everybody gridded up really well yesterday. Interim race director Brian Barnhart said, "You did a great job. Let's do it again. Nobody creep over. Once everybody's in place, get ready. The red lights will climb. And when they get right to the top, they'll disappear. The green will come on, and we'll have our first standing start. 5-second board is up.
Begin the start sequence.
When the red gets to the top, we're on in Toronto.
This is looking good.
Green for the first standing start in the IndyCar Series history. Somebody stalled.
Ed Carpenter having trouble getting off the line. Scott Dixon quickest to the first apex.
The Penske boys pounce, though, down into turn one. And Pagenaud gets pushed wide.
Well, it looked like a great start from Castroneves with Penske back on row 2.
Frankitti's got trouble, front right. There was tyre smoke. Dario's in trouble.
Right front wing damage.
Right front wing damage is the call from Franchitti.
Watching him file here, that's Tony Kanaan to the outside. Dario trying to stay out of everybody's way and limp back to the pits to get fixed. Tagliani with a good start.
We understand Ed Carpenter is still sitting on the front straight. And now he's rolling. The words just come through. Carpenter's now rolling. But look at that smoke coming from Franchitti's car.
Unbelievable. It looked like he had a great start coming straight off the line there. We got the standing start underway, but now look at that right front tyre.
Look at Takuma Sato and EJ Viso. They're going to have to sort it out here in this corner. No way to go too wide through there.
And how about Simona Di Silvestro? Great start from Simona as well. She's ahead of EJ Viso. There's the ailing Dario Franchitti diving for pit road now. Here comes Dario. His teammate leads the way. Elio is second. The guys who are fighting for this championship are 1 and 2. Power, then Hunter Ray. Here's Brian.
Franchitti in. I'm trying to look and see if there's any suspension damage as well. It doesn't look like it. They're going to change tires, take the opportunity to do that. They'll change the nose box. This is going to be costly. A very short lap here at Toronto. They need to try to get him back out, or he's in big danger of losing a lap early.
Yeah, new tires are on. They have refueled the car, and the nose is on. The car is good to go. Franchitti is away. But boy, yes, clear but costly.
Not sure you can declare any benefit to that for Dario, except for the fact that he's got the red tires off now.
Right.
If this thing goes green, you know, for a long distance, that could be a little bit of a benefit if you can take anything from that.
Same as yesterday, 85 laps, and it is hot and it is humid up here in Toronto for these guys to work. The majority of the drivers, interestingly enough, reporting they felt pretty good this morning. Not too many aches or ailments.
Yeah, they say that this morning, but, you know, after 10 or 15 minutes in much hotter conditions, it feels a lot more humid to me. Believe me, they're going to be feeling it.
Biggest mover in the pack in these early laps, Mike Conway, the star of Detroit. Viso on the inside of Simona and executes a good clean pass. Conway, the hero of Detroit, has made up 8 positions already.
Fantastic start. Takuma Sato now looks to have a run on Simona coming down the back straightaway.
Boy, I have to say, that standing start, it looked fantastic. Yes, Ed Carpenter had problems, but that really did add a new element to the Indy racing. I liked it, and I liked it a lot. And I tell you who liked it probably most of all is Scott Dixon, quite frankly, because at the moment, he is leading this race.
Got away nicely. He used to do standing starts back in the Formula Holden days back in Australia. Brian.
Yeah, Mike Conway has a good car underneath him. In morning warm-up, it was pretty good. I talked to him yesterday after the race. Yesterday, he said, the car is good. We made it better. I still need to work on getting power down, finding some more grip in the back. That's going to be imperative today because of these high temperatures. It looks like they've hit on a winner, at least for now.
He's working on Marco Andretti, and Marco hasn't been standing around either. Marco's made up 3 spots. He started 18th, and he said, we're just going to have to be on our A game today, minimize the mistakes. In fact, 0 mistakes would be a lot better.
Absolutely. Watching Mike Conway hustle here on Marco Andretti. Huge frustration, as we know. They expected that Detroit setup to just carry over and be magic, and it really shocked them how much they challenged to find a balance in practice and yesterday.
The Verizon onboard with Will Power. He's in 3rd at the moment, and he's 2 seconds in arrears of his teammate Elio Castro-Neves. Let's take you back to the start. Watch turn 1. Look to the right of your screen.
Looks like Dario gets into the back of, was that Power?
Power, yeah. Let's take it back and have a look at that again. The 2 rivals who we heard from earlier, Steve, they collide again.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what happened. It looked like right now on the second row, Will Power is going to come into contact.
Right,
yeah, exactly, with the Ganassi chassis.
I think, though, what happened, Steve, is I believe Dario might have gotten to the back of Castroneves to cause the wing damage, and then all of a sudden Will Power gets into the side of Franchitti.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what happened. So then we see the damage to the right front of Franchitti's car. Scott Dixon still out of front of this race with right behind him Castroneves and then Will Power. Doesn't seem to have any damage, not what we can see on Will Power's car.
And for the hero of this show, James Hinchcliffe is now already 3 laps down in the GoDaddy machine. He's back out.
He is, yeah.
But the curse, I mean, it's such a bizarre failure, Steve. We had a morning warm-up. There's been no rain. There shouldn't be any oxidation or rust in the mechanical system.
You know, we always say in racing circles, if ever the race car is going to fail, is at about 30 seconds before the start of the race. You know, you can spend 2 weeks building, in my case, a Formula 1 Grand Prix car. It will not start when you want it to on the grid. It's unbelievable.
So true.
The catch-up process begins for the mayor of Hinchtown. Tough break after his best finish ever. Up front, though, it is smooth sailing. And remember, if Scott Dixon can win this race today, he's going to get not only another victory, he's going to get a bonus $100,000. Nice.
Like metal sticks to a magnet, Chevrolet Camaro ZL1 sticks to the road. With magnetic ride control that responds to road conditions hundreds of times faster than the blink of an eye. Precision handling, born from precision thinking. That's American ingenuity to find new roads.
Water was boring, so we changed it into a drink you can flavor your way. With Mio, add it to water, flavor it the way you want. Nothing's exploding. Let's change that! Mio is awesome!
The command has been given. Row 1, let me know. Row 1 on.
Live in-car cameras.
Race car rolling.
4-in-1 Mosaic. Having your heart race as fast as theirs.
Here we go.
Hey, good green.
That's powerful. Download IndyCar 13 now, only from Verizon.
Scott Dixon leads again here today. Race number 2 at Toronto. Yesterday's runner-up, Sebastian Bourdais, off to a good start. He's picked up a couple of positions. He's running 5th, but right now he does not have push to pass. It was not uploaded correctly, and they fear he may not have it this entire race. They're working on it right now. Over to Brian Till.
listening to Dario Franchitti's crew tell him to just run the pace that he's running. He's very quick on the racetrack right now. And remember, with it happening so early on lap 1, they've got a lot of time to strategize and get him back up front. The other good thing they were able to do, they got the alternates or the red tires off. They put blacks on. He should have a good, long, fast run on this set of tires.
He's got Chris Simmons and Travis Jacobson on his box, two very clever guys who can work the strategy. You know that the NBC Sports Network is your home of open wheel racing. Quick reminder about the Formula One World Championship. It continues from Budapest. It's the Hungarian Grand Prix. That's Sunday, July 28th. And you can see race, the F1 countdown at 7:30, race at 8 o'clock. That's July 28th, the Hungarian Formula One Grand Prix. This man here tested a Formula One car once for Williams, Scott Dixon, and he said it was pretty mind-blowing.
It is.
And I bet he looks like he's getting on with the program today as well. He's under 1 minute on that previous lap. Scott Dixon, 59.84. Every other runner in the minutes and above. Scott Dixon really getting on with the program in these opening laps.
Here's Jan.
And Steve, you were just talking about pedals and you're talking about mechanics and how things tend to give up. Well, here's the whole pedal assembly from Hinchcliffe's car, and they replaced this whole assembly and the wiring. But look, they took it out, and now it's working. They're just so they're just so frustrated. This is a big piece to get your hands in there and replace that. Now they can't see anything wrong.
So the dramas for James Hinchcliffe, and let's listen to a radio transmission from just a few moments ago.
How many laps down are we? 3. I'm going flat out on a cold engine. Is that okay, or do you want me to take a lap to warm it up before I start? It's good now. Don't worry about it. It's good now. How many laps down are we?
Very smart of Hinchcliffe. You might ask, why would he care about a cold engine? It's because these engines have to last for multiple races. He knows he's 3 laps down. So really what that message is, do we risk damaging our future races by pushing hard now? Very smart of James to be big picture thinking.
It is smart indeed, and typically before the start of these races, of course, we see the drivers and the teams warming those engines up prior to leaving pit road to get out onto the racetrack. Everything has to be at the perfect operating temperature in a race car, not just for performance, but as Townsend alludes to there, for reliability.
The yellow car you see on screen, the Sonny's machine, is Mike Conway. He has made 10 positions. The Brit is flying. Had a good result at the 24 Hours of Le Mans recently in the LMP2 class, where he finished on the podium. Unfortunately, in post-race tech, they found out that the fuel cell was a little too large, so he was excluded from the result. Kevin?
There's Simon Pagenaud. He felt really good about finishing 9th yesterday. The car was great. They just couldn't get the brakes sorted out. They were struggling all day. He said after the warm-up this morning, the brakes are good, but now the problem is we haven't attacked all weekend, so we don't have the car where we like. And here today, even though he lost a couple of spots early, he got him back, and he said, now it's stuck. I just can't pass anybody. So they're asking him, just try to hold your position for now.
Which is very unfamiliar, Townsend. As you know, with Pagenaud, he is an attack-style driver. He likes to rough it up.
All these guys are, but especially Simon for sure. Now, one guy to keep an eye on is Justin Wilson here. The only driver in the top 10, well, top 11 right now to start on black tires. Justin's strategy, see if he can run a little bit longer on those blacks as the red tires fall off for the rest of the leaders, and then do a short stint on reds in the middle of the race.
Hardly anybody deciding to use the black tires, the harder tires. Justin Wilson, as Townsend just mentioned, Charlie Kimball there also, and right at the back, Carlos Munoz also using those black tires, but 3 out of 24.
Working lap 12 now. Dixon in command. He's heading for his 3rd victory in succession. He won the Pocono 400. He won yesterday in a thrilling race where that push-to-pass button really came into play late in the race. We'll follow that story with Sebastian Bourdais, and if that issue can be resolved. It's Dixon, Castro Neves, Power, Hunter-Reay, and Bourdais, yesterday's runner-up, running in the top 5.
Wow, look how these guys are beginning to open up gaps at the front already. The gap between Dixon and Castro Neves, 3.2 seconds, and down it's 7.9, nearly 8 seconds between Dixon and Power. That's between 1st and 3rd so far. Amazing performance.
We need to squeeze in a break, but before we do, let's show you what happened back at the start. Remember, standing starts were a part of the Champ Car World Series, but never the IZOD IndyCar Series. And here you have it, a little piece of history, a successful first standing start here at 2 in Toronto. We'll be back.
What if Bud Light created the world's biggest stage? And through the music experience of a lifetime. In every single state. On the exact same
For a chance to see artists like Miguel, Ludacris, and Dierks Bentley, check out budlight.com/music first. 50 shows, 50 states, one day.
Here we go.
Introducing a car company that's never made a single car. We took the power of a 9-year-old V8 and gave it the impressive handling of Firestone's Destination tire. Now, moms agree. Every milk run feels like a victory lap. So whatever you drive a Firestone.
The drivers of Quicken Loans. Elio Castroneves, Ryan Newman, Will Power, and Tony Stewart. They are engineered to accelerate, engineered to dominate, engineered with muscle and brains, engineered for victory lane. For a home loan experience that's just as amazing as our drivers, call Quicken Loans, engineered to amaze.
The high jump, approached the same way for decades, is suddenly changed forever when a man dares to jump back first. Defying convention is the Mazda way. To give the Mazda 6 best-in-class highway MPG, we changed everything. Engine, body, even the wheels. This is the modern sports sedan, the Mazda 6. What do you drive?
There's some pretty strong racing going on here as we welcome you back to our live coverage of round 12 of the IZOD IndyCar Series. Mike Conway is in the thick of it, up against Simon Pagenaud, the two guys who won the races at the last doubleheader in Detroit. Conway won the first, Pagenaud won the second. Here is Tony Kanaan. Huge weekend for Hydroxy Cup. This is their home base. So they've got 300 plus guests here cheering. TK, the Indy 500 winner on. Kanaan is fighting EJ Viso. Look at them side by side up that back stretch to turn 3.
Viso's not having it. I think Viso wants it back.
EJ Viso, one of the bravest drivers on the brakes in the IndyCar Series. He's willing usually to go deeper than anybody.
Yesterday, EJ got up as high as 5th. However, then he had a rear wishbone problem and he faded back. He had contact with Tagliani at one point late in the race and just fell back.
Lee, the guy I'm watching right now, again, Justin Wilson, again on black tires, just past Simona Di Silvestro and absolutely leaving her in the rest of that group behind. Yeah. He is on the charge. We could be in that point right now, Steve, where the red tire degradation again is crossing over with the black tire performance.
I think you're right. We're already on lap 16.
Speaking of tires, let's hear what Graham Rahal had to say.
How's the car?
Just losing grip overall. It's a bit loose, but more overall grip loss.
A couple more laps.
Hang in there, hang in there. And Graham is running in 18th at the moment, chasing out after Joseph Newgarden, who's chasing Charlie Kimball, Marco Andretti, Vautier, Conway's 13th, Pagenaud's 12th. Let's talk more about Rahal.
Lee, I talked to Bobby Rahal before this race. He said maybe 12 laps is what we're expecting before they fall off. And when they fall off, it's like falling off of a cliff. The performance goes drastically away. We saw that yesterday with Dario Franchitti. Then he smiled and said, some days it's good not to be a race car driver. No, it's interesting you should say that because that's exactly what we're talking about this year in Formula One with the Pirelli tyres falling off that cliff where all of a sudden the tyres just fall away. The performance is gone almost instantly. And Townsend, looking at the gap now between Dixon and Castroneves, 4.2 seconds and 10 seconds the gap to power. I'm wondering whether or not is Dixon really looking at the gap, is Castroneves protecting his tyres against Dixon? Because we've seen that again with Pirelli tyres. I'm still learning how these Firestones work, but to me that gap seems amazing.
I don't think there's any part of Castroneves or Will Power that are used to managing tire, and they're pushing. They're watching Dixon disappear into the distance, and I just think that shows us how much better Dixon's car is. Yeah. I mean, he was so strong yesterday, and obviously nothing's changed today.
Look at this. Takuma Sato, Tony Kanaan. That is for 7th place, turn 3. It's always a hot spot here at Toronto. Something you don't notice on TV is the climb uphill to that turn 5. It's quite dramatic.
Yeah, we noticed that earlier today, as turn 5 really has some elevation that's going to allow the drivers to brake a little bit later, braking against the face of that hill. Look at Alex Tagliani. I got to say, this is the local guy. He's got to get it done. 22nd in points. His previous best finish this season, 10th. They desperately need a result. He's right in the thick of things. He's got Justin Wilson all over him.
Tony Kanaan is in. First of the front runners to pit.
Yeah, we're starting to see those lap times stop down a little bit now, going low. 1.1, 1.11. So
Get open boxes here.
Certainly these tyres are starting to lose performance. There's no question. Now is the time to get rid of them, I would say.
And, of course, what he is trying to do, you've heard Bobby Rahal say the same thing. They had to hang on a couple of laps, hoping they could get into the window. This is okay for fuel. Obviously, he goes to the blacks. That is clean. So I would expect we'll see a lot of people on the red tires that are falling off the cliff are going to hit the pits anytime soon. So stay close to your TV.
Thanks for being with us for this 12th round of the iZod IndyCar Series, the Honda Indy 2 in Toronto. Lee Diffie, Townsend Bell, special guest Steve Matchett from NBC's F1 team. We've got Robin Miller, Jan Beekers, Brian Till and Kevin Lee, the team, and it's been a really good run for one of 2 Canadians in the field, Alex Tagliani.
Steering wheel straight. Watch your legs. Pull the clutch.
His team desperately needing a good finish. It looked like Tagliani had a decent car yesterday, but then a late race spin in turn 1 cost them another good finish here. Brian Herta said to me yesterday, we are better than this. They need a finish.
Yeah. You can hear how calm they are on the radio with Tag, and that is key, is keeping him smooth and steady. Make high percentage decisions out there on the track today, and they almost overcompensate, bringing their voice down.
It's the way engineers should talk to their drivers. It doesn't matter if the telemetry screens are actually burst into flames back in the pits. Do not mention any of that to the driver. Tell the driver only what he needs to know while he's driving.
We often do that with our producer, Terry Lingner. We say, nice and calm, Terry, nice and calm. Here's our race leader, and he's the race leader to the tune of 3.8 seconds, Scott Dixon.
Wow, but his lap times are beginning to drop, Lee. He is now in the 62 range. He was in the 59s at around lap 10 and 11, and now definitely these tyres are beginning to fall.
Whoa, big slide to the right-hander there.
There it is.
And he's got to be coming in any time now.
Yeah. This track is so small. It's only 1.7 miles. It's very tight. As soon as you start to lose track time here because of the tyres, get rid of them, because you'll be losing time hand over fist.
Speaking of stops, while we're away, we saw Tony Kanaan come in. We saw that stop. We've seen Tags. Vautier came in. Newgarden came in. Rahal and Jakes and Carpenter have all pitted as well.
1.75 miles around this track in Toronto. Fuel being burnt off, well, I would say somewhere about half a gallon a lap. So about 3 pounds in weight is being burnt off per lap on these cars, which should, in theory, make them faster. But then you also have to factor in the degradation of the tyres. So that's what's causing the cars to go slower, despite the weight advantage through burning the fuel.
The 2 Detroit winners, Pagenaud and Conway, are in. Those red option alternate tyres are going to go off. Here's Brian Till.
Should be a normal stop. They're going to the blacks. Remember, we said that they tried to find more grip in the back end of this car. They've obviously done it. Conway was flying.
And Pagenaud was able to get off the reds onto the blacks, taking a little longer, and they're going to have to go back. They had a problem at the rear of the car, so costly couple of seconds for Simon Pagenaud.
Still able to get out in front of Conway, though.
That was impressive. I watched it, how much Pagenaud hustled the pit entry. There's a big bump there at pit entry, and he was right on the ragged edge, right in front of Newgarden to the inside.
After the race yesterday, we saw and spoke with Joseph Newgarden, and he said, I couldn't believe it when we had that throttle sensor problem. He said, I didn't stall. I just didn't want to be that guy who caused the aborted start. He said it was so embarrassing. In the drivers' meeting today, he was apologizing to everyone, and nobody had
Now watch this,
feeling.
Graham Rahal side by side. This is a flip-flop of what happened yesterday with Vautier. Conway wisely yielding the position to Graham.
Graham Rahal, who needs and desperately wants a good result.
Good job. Let's just get off these corners here.
We know what he can do. He's done so much in IndyCar, and he's only 24.
Relatively high suspension travel on the rear of these cars as they try and cope with the bumps around this street track, because it is anything but smooth around here, Townsend.
That's right. It's, you're racing fist to fist with these guys, and you really have to manage the surface differences as well. Not only when you're on the racing line, but when you go side by side with another car, you have to keep in mind the variable surface of that offline maneuver.
Race leader is in pit lane. Kevin.
Scott Dixon has a clean in. He'll have a clean out. He's been leading by more than 3 seconds. The car has been as close to perfect as it's going to get. They have used their reds up, those scuffed reds, onto sticker primary black tires. That is a great stop, under 8 seconds for the number 9 target team.
Yeah, it's very good. About 6 seconds of fuel delivery, and I think they were waiting on fuel delivery time. 6 seconds of fuel delivery around here, maybe about, 30 laps? 25 to 30 laps.
Simona Di Silvestro.
Simona likes her car a lot better than yesterday. It actually got much better as the race went along, and she was pleasantly surprised where she ended up. Like most, she started on the alternate red softer tires to make sure she got a good start on that standing start. Now back to the primary black tires, and a pretty good stop for Simona.
A disastrous pit stop here for Saavedra. It almost looks like they were trying to plug his helmet in or something.
He was asked to be, the team asked race control to black flag them. Brian, tell us more.
Well, Barrett Narain, his crew chief, had been calling him for the last 15 minutes, and obviously his radio was not working, so they actually had the officials black flag him to bring him in, and when they did that pit stop, they got that radio plugged back into his helmet.
Elio Castro-Neves. Interesting to see Scott Dixon lead the opening 23 laps of this race, and Elio comes second. You know why? Look what happened in morning warm-up this morning for the guys who have been in the top 2 positions in this race. Watch this. Elio had just come out of pit lane, and he said, and Dixon told me he blocked me straight away, so I had to show him that I was not pleased.
Yeah, Dixon clearly demonstrating, listen, I'm the king this weekend, pal. Don't get no funny business with me. I'll show you.
He said, what's that? It's morning warm-up. What's the blocking about? He said, so I immediately had to show him. Here's Marco Andretti. He's made good progress in this race. Made up 4 positions. There's his first stop done.
It's a nice clean stop, and I like the way that the gunman throws that gun away from the front of the car. Some of these stops, we've seen it where when the gunman wants to clear the wheel gun away to be pulled over the pit wall, it still lands in front of the right front tire. You've got to throw it further than that.
Elio Castro-Neves is now going to make his service. Of course, anytime you can go farther, go longer on your stint, they take a little wing out. That was quick. Wow, very nice. That was under 8 seconds for Castro-Neves.
Sebastian Bourdais has moved up to 4th with Dixon coming in. It's been a solid start for Sebastian Bourdais, who still has a little more understeer than he would like. This is a really good stop for the TrueCar McAfee Dragon team.
Where did Castro-Neves come out in front of Dixon? No, he didn't. We've just heard word that Dixon got by. On board with Will Power now, still waiting for him to stop.
Dixon had about a 3 to 4 second gap there before the pit stop. That gap maintains about 4 seconds right now.
Here we go. There's Dixon on the right, and there's Castro-Neves exiting pit lane behind James Hinchcliffe. Yeah. So it was a comfortable margin in the end to Dixon.
Steve, one thing that surprises me is Will Power staying out this long. His lap times have dropped down to 1:03. I mean, he's losing pace.
He's losing time hand over fist. So, although his name is at top of timing and scoring now, he is leading this race. When he comes into the pits with everybody that's changed tyres and are now setting competitive lap times, Will Power is going to be in trouble after his stop.
Hunter Ray comes in, and Jan, we'll be watching the exit, won't we, after 2 fails yesterday?
Yes, we will, and they found that was a sensor problem for Ryan Hunter-Reay that was affecting the clutch. He goes to sticker set for him, and now this is what we get to find out. Is that repaired? Oh, yeah, it's repaired. Another one under 8 seconds. At the same time, Will Power setting up to come in next lap around.
Got a car. Got Bourdais coming right now.
Yeah, still shocked they're staying out that long, Steve, simply because Dixon's only 8 seconds behind Power, and Power has to stop.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Nice work from the DHL team to get Ryan Hunter-Reay out ahead of Sebastian Bourdais. Here's our race leader, temporarily, Will Power. On the reds, it's time to get them off and go to the primary black wall tyres, the harder compound tyre, and this is pit entry.
Watch the speed limit. Watch the speed limit.
Hear Tim Cindric on the radio.
All alone.
He will talk him in, and one thing I see right away that's different is that he's going with a scuff set. He is not going with stickers.
3, 2, 1.
Always counting into the box. There is a bit of a delay on the radio. No changes on the front wing, so it's all waiting for fuel. It's taking a little bit longer. That's over 8 seconds. In fact, just about 9 seconds for Power, so he lost about a second and a half to his rivals.
DJ Vizo in the background in the Sitco machine as well. He is done. And you see there, that's where Will Power cycles out ahead of Ryan Hunter-Reay and Sebastian Bourdais. And Kanaan and Vizo, they resume their battle that they had earlier in the race.
This is great stuff. Watching the push to pass here. Vizo is on the button. Kanaan is on the push to pass button.
Here we go. Hunter-Reay is on the attack with Power. Power is on his outlap. And you can go side by side, but you can't squeeze through because you see the wall, it kicks out there. You've got to have a stronger position. Bourdais growing impatient now. He wants a shot at Hunter-Reay.
I can't tell you how good it feels to go out on new tires when you've had old, worn-out reds sliding around. It's so nice.
You're fighting the car every single corner at that stage, aren't you?
Carlos Munoz, Justin Wilson, Charlie Kimball, the only 3 drivers who started on the primary tires, still out there cranking out those laps. How far can they go?
I don't drive a race car every day, but when I do, it has to be ready. At the race shop or at home, that means Deltran Battery Tender. Deltran battery tenders don't just charge batteries, they automatically switch to a smart maintenance mode that keeps your battery at its peak charge. With protection from overcharging and easy to understand LED indicators, Deltran battery tenders maintain my most valuable equipment. If you can't start it, you can't drive it.
At Honda, we know some people just can't leave things be. They wonder how much faster this thing could go. What if it weighed less or turned sharper? They know that things can always be better. We count ourselves among those people. Introducing the quicker, sleeker, smarter, best Civic Si yet, made possible by Honda.
Honda, proud partner of the IZOD IndyCar Series.
When you pay too much for cable, you feel powerless. When you feel powerless, you want to take the power back. When you want to take the power back, you take karate. When you take karate, you want to use your karate. When you want to use your karate, you become the fist of goodness. When you become the fist of goodness, you run along rooftops. And when you run along rooftops, you fall into a dinner party. Don't fall into a dinner party. Get rid of cable and upgrade to DirecTV. Call 1-800-DirecTV.
Give me your street circuits, your ovals. Give me your road courses and your cathedrals of speed. Give me drivers who live to put it all on the line and cars unlike any other. Because this is America, and here we race IndyCar.
Sunday on the NBC Sports Network.
Wrapping up the first round of pit stops, Charlie Kimball is the last to pit. He had worked his way from 15th up to 3rd. Second day in a row, he's been the last to come in the first time. They're getting great mileage.
Charlie Kimball's stop there was fantastic, and what really impressed me was the dedication, the accuracy of the fuel hose going on. It was bang on, delivered the fuel, not a split second wasted.
9 times out of 10, that fuel insert and remove is going to dictate the pit stop time.
Yeah.
Look at the impatience here. That's a fiery little group there. Let's relive this pit stop.
Watch this nozzle go on. There's no hesitation at all. Bang! Look at that. That's the way to do it, son. That is the way to put fuel in the car.
One interesting thing I noticed, he didn't try to do it as the car was approaching. He waited. So as to minimize the risk of a mistake.
And as you were saying yesterday, Townsend, these fuel hose nozzles are very heavy. So to get them accurate isn't as easy as these guys make it look.
And Steve, it is very tricky, that's for sure. When you see this whole group, there's a few in there that pitted on the early side. That'd be people like Kanaan, also Vautier, Newgarden, Rahal, Conway. All those that came in on the earlier side are in the pit window, but they can't run full bore. They have to throttle back a little bit, lean the cars down because they weren't really in the full bore pit window, just a window for one more stop. Now they can't be as racy.
As you saw when we were in that break, Justin Wilson, he came into pit and he put blacks back on again. So he would go for another 30 laps. Can he get 25 laps out of a set of reds?
Gonna have to try. Let's ride with Graham.
black tyres may not have the grip of the reds, but they're doing a pretty good job, I have to say. The car looks stable and planted.
Right now, if I'm Graham Rahal, I'm watching Simon Pagenaud all over the back of Simona, weaving and bobbing, trying to stick a nose in and force a mistake. I'm thinking to myself, let Pagenaud do the hard work.
Yeah,
let those two, bang into each other and give me the easiest pass of the day.
Focus forward.
And up front, Scott Dixon is clearly in command of this race. He has a 7.7 second lead over Helio Castroneves. Another 7.7 seconds further back is Dario Franchitti. That's what it looks like. It is smooth sailing for Dixon.
Where's the rest? Oh, there they are. That's right.
This is Dario, yep. So he, remember what happened on the opening lap, collision damage. He came in, Brian, and he's been running well since, but it's going to be a long old day for Franchitti.
Yeah, they're going to have some luck of some yellows and stuff like that to use some strategy to get him forward. He has been on the radio talking about the left rear going away. Remember, they burned down those reds early yesterday. This car perhaps not being as kind to the tires as they need it to be, especially in the heat today.
And exactly as I was talking about, those who had pitted early, like Tony Kanaan, are now needing to come in on the earlier cycle. So he has tires that he wants, but he's not necessarily going to be able to really stand on it because of the fact of his fuel situation.
That was a very slow stop.
And that's what bit him yesterday.
Why is Kanaan only able to go 16 laps on that stint?
Coming now. Get out in front and keep him with his buffer.
So the Hydroxy Cup machine goes out, and here's our race leader. He has lost half a second in that last lap to Helio Castroneves. So Helio turned in a good time last time round, and we'll continue to update you on that.
Simon Pagenaud lost some positions on that last stop. It's because the fuel wasn't flowing as quick as it needed to be, and that was a problem with the fuel hose. So they have replaced that, and Pagenaud has fallen back to 16th position.
Let's have a look at the stop. You see the fuel hose on. Yeah, you can see. Whoa, wow, that was awful.
I think that means it's full. No?
Oh, it's flowing back. It may have been going back through the hose and flowing back through the hose, through the vent of the hose, but not going into the car valve. These rigs are not pressurized like they used to be in F1 a few years ago. They are gravity fed, and we're only allowed a limited amount of fuel. So as the race wears on, with each stop, the fuel flow rate becomes slower and slower because the lack of gravity action on the fuel.
Kanaan has troubles. We're hearing he may have hit the wall. Look at that right rear. He collected the wall this morning at turn 10 in the morning warm-up. And he said, it just got away from me.
Johnny's suspension's broken.
Yeah, you can see that. The rear leg of the top wishbone.
Look at this. Look right at the top of your screen. Bang.
Ooh.
Last corner onto the front straight.
Out of the pits, cold tires, full tank of fuel, pushing hard to try to make up lost ground.
There's Jimmy Vasser.
Boy, the rear suspensions on these IndyCar chassis, they are very strong and robust, steel and not carbon, but when you hit a wall like that, they will bend.
Nice to see Jimmy Vasser up and about after an overjump in his Stadium Super Truck debut. We saw him the other night, and he was awfully sore, but good to see him up and about.
He said, Robbie Gordon told me to give it some throttle over the jump, and he said, I was hitting the rev limiter in midair. He said it was fun for a moment until I landed. Jimmy Vasser. So look of concern as his Hydroxy Cup machine with his Indy 500 winning driver, Tony Kanaan, is out of the second one.
A way to see the unseen, leading to radar, forever providing early warnings and safer journeys. The conviction to create a safer journey is the Mazda way. The Mazda 6 uses radar, lasers, and sensors to detect objects and even apply the brakes for you. Introducing the modern sports sedan, the Mazda 6. What do you drive?
Inside yours. Keep pushing here, bud. That's turn 4, spotter. Turn 4's clear.
Streaming 4-in-1 Mosaic.
Inside. We'll push the back left. Be smart here.
Live pit crew chatter. Riding shotgun from green flag to checkered. That's powerful. Download IndyCar 13 now, only from Verizon.
The drivers of Quicken Loans. Elio Castroneves, Ryan Newman, Will Power, and Tony Stewart. They are engineered to accelerate, engineered to dominate, engineered with muscle and brains, engineered for victory lane. For a home loan experience that's just as amazing as our drivers, call Quicken Loans, engineered to amaze.
And that is where babies come from.
Dad, I have a question.
You do?
Does the asymmetrical tread pattern of a tire have any effect on stopping distance?
There's a better place to ask questions about your tires. TireRack.com. Right now, get a $50 Firestone prepaid MasterCard and a Turbo Movie Pack when you buy a set of 4 select Firestone tires. For details, go to TireRack.com/TV. TireRack.com. Research, buy, deliver, install.
Big reminder, on August 17th, NBC and the NBC Sports Network become the new home for the Barclays Premier League. And for the first time ever, you can watch every match every week. Barclays Premier League, beginning Saturday, August 17th. That's the home of Toronto FC. That's where we're broadcasting from right now. That's in the MLS, but the English Premier League, the Barclays Premier League, coming to the NBC Sports family. It's huge news. As we welcome you back to the streets of Toronto, this is Simon Pagenaud chasing Simona Di Silvestro for 15th place.
Now, Lee, the last couple of laps, Simon has gotten very creative here. Right here in turn one, Simon will swing wide. He puts his left front on the asphalt for a little extra grip, squares off the exit. Look at the run he gets on the back straight. Can he pull it off this time? Simona to the inside to defend. Simon has to break deep here to go side by side and get the advantage of that kink.
This is a Chevy Honda battle.
Oh,
and the Honda wins it out.
And I think that was a case of here. Let me just show you a little bit more wheel and move my car just a little bit. See if I can scare you into braking early.
Been doing a good job settling right there.
That's Gerald Tyler, Simona's engineer, my old Indy Lights championship engineer, coming on board and saying, doing fine, stay right there, right where you want to be.
So the order as we run. Dixon has a 7.7-second lead over Castroneves. Power third, Hunter-Reay fourth, Bourdais fifth, Vizo, Sato, Tagliani is eighth, and Vautier and then Wilson is in the top 10. We need to give a shout out for Dario Franchitti, who has made really good work on that last stint. Yep. He did not do a lap outside the 60 or 61 second range. He's flying, and he's got himself from down the bottom end of the field up to 13th place. Don't count Dario out. We have never had a caution-free race here in Toronto, ever. So you've got to bank on at least one, otherwise we're going to create a little bit of history.
He's going to have it. I mean, track position's so critical. He is 13th. He is flying, but he's got a whole bunch of guys to get by.
Let's listen to some Sebastian Bourdais radio.
Ahead of Hunter-Reay, you've got Carpenter, who's a lap down. Just a heads up, we want to stay with Hunter-Reay as best we can so we can try to pass to the pits.
That was just a short while ago. Obviously, he's already got past Ed Carpenter. He is driving with blisters on both palms of his hands the size of quarters from yesterday's race. He said, the rest of my body is fine. I just can't hold on to the steering wheel. When I spoke to him, he was on his way to find some tape to tape those up.
No wonder he dropped the trophy. Oh, poor guy. After battling all day to lose the glass like that, luckily they got him another one.
Well, if you didn't see that yesterday, we'll show you that in just a moment. It was quite, well, it wasn't funny that the nice trophy got smashed, but it was kind of an awkward moment. He felt bad. Here it is. This is for his fine second place. Oh. Oops. Apparently somebody yelled out, "Catch it, Dario," and Dario didn't know what they were talking about.
he couldn't react fast enough.
He's fast, but not that fast.
But it's not funny. It's not funny.
No. Well, I hate to give contrast between Formula One and Indy because there's two different things, but I have to say in the sporting regulations of the F1 World Championship, there is a regulation which forbids the trophy being mounted on a panel which will fall apart like that. The trophies on the podium have to be able to handled and transported without the potential for breakage. That's F1 for you. It's just crazy.
Watching Conway and Graham Rahal go at it. You know, Graham Rahal has had his struggles this year, especially in qualifying pace. But, man, the guy races hard. He doesn't give up. He is absolutely wheeling it. And he seems to always race better than he's qualifying this year.
Let's go get him. That's James behind you. That's fourth position.
The Rahal teammates are running together. So too is Ed Carpenter, Takuma Sato. However, Ed's a little farther back. Sato is in the top 10. Takuma, who was on a 5-race probation, yesterday being the first, today the second, and 3 more after this, is running in 7th. We haven't seen him that high for a while. That's a good sign. Here's our race leader, Scott Dixon, 5.9 seconds out in front. That's come down from 7.5. So Castro Neves is eating into the Kiwis' lead.
The wind's constant force should have disrupted man. Instead, man raised a sail and made farther his battle cry. The new Ram 1500, Motor Trend's 2013 Truck of the Year, the most fuel-efficient half-ton truck on the road, achieving best-in-class 25 highway miles per gallon. Guts, glory, Ram.
Your car may have been born in 1997, but give it a new set of Firestone tires, and it could feel like it's fresh off the lot. Whatever you drive a Firestone.
Water was boring, so we changed it into a drink you can flavor your way with Mio. Add it to water, flavor it the way you want. Nothing's exploding. Let's change that. Mio is awesome!
What if Bud Light created the world's biggest stage? And through the music experience of a lifetime. In every single state. On the exact same day.
For a chance to see artists like Miguel, Ludacris, and Dierks Bentley, check out budlight.com/musicfirst. 50 shows, 50 states, one day.
Here we go.
Let's go start a knife fight.
You look determined.
I am. We're back. Whose ass are we gonna kick now?
Suits, new season, new night. Premieres Tuesday at 10, only on USA.
The IZOD IndyCar Series heads to Ohio, one of the most challenging tracks in America, where Scott Dixon aims to go for a record 5th win. The Honda Indy 200 at Mid-Ohio, live Sunday, August 4th at 3 Eastern on the NBC Sports Network.
Lap 46 of 85 at Toronto. Scott Dixon is the leader. There is Tony Kanaan, who stalled. He went off track about 10 laps ago with a mechanical issue, and it looks like his day might be done. He is going to have to hang out there, and there we see Kanaan with that right rear issue, so they'll have to wait for a yellow. A yellow is the only way he's going to get back to pit lane. So a tough day for the Indianapolis 500 winner. Let's go through the field now. And the man of the weekend has been Scott Dixon, looking for win number 3 in a row. When I talked to him this morning and asked for any issues, he couldn't come up with any. No complaints at all. The car is good. Mike Hull is only talking to him about the gap, and the gap is big right now on Helio Castroneves, Jan.
You talk about that gap to Castro Neves, but amazingly, he had just a fantastic start to get that second position in the first place. The one thing he has going for him, he pitted 2 laps later than did Dixon. Now, behind him, not as much of a gap behind Castro Neves as he finally comes through the screen, but back behind, in fact, it's quite a big gap back to Will Power. We have to wait, and we'll go on board to catch up with Will Power. He pitted another 2 laps after his teammate Castro Neves. A nice start for him as well, but they're really going to need some kind of yellow to be able to close these big gaps up. Ryan Hunter-Reay, we saw yesterday, had all kinds of issues in the pits because of a faulty sensor for a clutch. He also had problems with the brakes. They replaced the whole brake system, and now he's happy. Kevin?
It's another great day for Sebastian Bourdais, running in 5th position after a runner-up yesterday, despite the fact they have no push to pass today. Tom Brown is the hero right now. He's the new engineer. He said it's not so much the success that keeps you going, it's the fear of failure.
EJ Viso having a great run right now in 6th. They ran well yesterday, but then they softened the car up a little bit more for today, and it looks like what it's done is allowed those tires to last. In the heat of the day, it's exactly what EJ Viso needs.
Takuma Sato is getting to play today after he had to retire yesterday after 32 laps with a broken header. The car, though, wasn't very good despite that. He said it was much better today. It's been good in this race. Right now, Larry Floyd is telling him, save your overtakes for later. Brian?
Talking about needing a good finish. We talked about Alex Tagliani earlier. He and his Herta Motorsports team, they need to finish well. Tagliani more races here than any other IndyCar driver at 12, and he needs this one to be a good one. Justin Wilson, though, is on a charge. They settled the rear end of the car down. after the morning warm-up, he was really concerned about rear tire wear, and it seems they've gotten a handle on it because Wilson having a great run right now.
Marco Andretti follows right behind. He's trying to close, and he has a lot of heat from behind. You may have noticed, and yes, that's Dario Franchitti that's closing in on Marco Andretti. Marco tried some different settings on the car for areas like that, where you hit the curb, said it didn't work in the morning warm-up.
When you're a champion, you know how to move forward, and that's exactly what Dario Franchitti is doing after his early problems. Right now in 11th position, and he is moving forward at a very rapid rate. The problem is a little full course caution would help, but we heard Lee say it earlier. There has never been a caution-free run here at Toronto, so right now, Franchitti has his fingers crossed. Joseph Newgarden having a good run as well, but he needs a little bit of overall grip. Talking to his crew just a little while ago saying we need to lower some tire pressures on this next stop.
Pretty solid day for Charlie Kimball so far. We see him there now in the orange and blue car from 15th through 13th. He is going to have a set of reds for the last stint. That's been the game plan. We mentioned they went longest on the first stint. They want to make a short stint for those reds in stint number 3.
Kimball may be running on reds, but Mike Conway is going to be going to blacks on his next stop, and this is good stuff out on the racetrack as you see Joseph Newgarden having a good fight, I should say, with Charlie Kimball.
Good tight racing down there further down in the pack, isn't it? That's 12th, 13th. Mike Conway is in 14th, still the highest mover in this field today, making up 9 positions from his starting spot. Marco Andretti, the next best, who's fending off Dario here. Marco made up 7 from his starting position. But you got to watch for this number 10 target, Chip Ganassi car, the 4-time series champion. Dario Franchitti continues his forward surge. A caution here would do wonders.
It would do wonders, but it's going to do wonders for a lot of people in this field. A lot of those guys that pitted early on the reds to get onto the blacks are going to be in huge trouble if they don't get a yellow. I'm seeing several guys, they're going to have to make a third stop for a splash and go if they don't get a caution.
Graham Rahal pits.
Zero fuel.
You hear the radio communication, 0 fuel, and it'll be black tires. They're looking for a good finish. They softened up this car. It should be a good one.
And did you see the pass there? Franchitti on Andretti. Done and gone. So both Rahal cars are serviced and sent. That's Graham Rahal in the front, James Jakes in the Acorn stairlifts machine. So Dario takes another one off his list. And he is now in the top 10 after being at the tail end of the field.
Super impressive. We know how strong the Ganassi car is here this weekend, but to have such a clean and strategic run like a surgeon through this field is just amazing. It's the reason he's a champion.
For Dario, yeah, absolutely. To cope with the stress, to keep his head in the game and just keep working, pushing and pushing through these back markers to make that time is incredible. And the time is certainly in the car, because if you look at Dixon's time, he's been pushing some amazing laps. 60.3, 60.3, 60.3. Consistent laps coming out of Dixon and that Ganassi car.
Dario Franchitti 60.3 on that last lap. Now he's got a clean run. Let's see, he might even get down into the high 59s here.
Well, we've seen Dixon in the 59s, and again, because of the way that Indy races are run with this constant need to refuel the cars, you're not seeing the big disparity between the cars at the start of the race full of fuel and at the end of the race absolutely empty. So it's a fair comparison. If you can get into the 59s at the start with new tyres, you should be able to get into the 59s halfway through.
The blue and orange Barracuda Networks car of Alex Tagliani maintains 8th. As we ride with Carlos Munoz, he has just gone a lap down. That's Scott Dixon up ahead. This sensational youngster, this is a big opportunity for him, driving an IndyCar on a road course. He showed us how brilliant he is on the oval at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. This is an altogether different beast on this 1 3/4 mile street circuit. The Iceman, he is hot at the moment, heading for 3 wins in a row.
Scott Dixon continues to lead the Honda Indy of Toronto, but pit stops are about to be underway. Mike Conway in the number 18, the Dale Coyne entry, having a good run just as he did yesterday. It set up for a pit stop, so he'll work through the final 2 corners and come to pit road. His first pit stop today was not that good. He had made a great run up to the front, picking up as many as 10 positions, but some of those were given away on the first stop, so we'll have to see just how the team improves. Conway to the marks.
2, 1.
It'll be black Firestone tires. You would expect that. 54 of 85 laps complete. The fuel going in. He needs a good stop. They tap the fueler. Conway back underway.
started.
29-year-old Brit serviced and sent. Now, part of a front wing assembly there. On the inside, who is it? Is it Tristan Vautier? No. Is it Tag? No.
Vautier's in the back there behind Saavedra. Watch him pop. He tried to do the fake to the inside and dodge back to the left. Shades of Canan there at Pocono a little bit.
A little more severe. Tony didn't sustain any damage. It just snapped the front wing, and he had to come in to replace it. That was torn off for Vautier. The only rookie in this field. Well, we should count Munoz today.
Lee, speaking of Pocono, I've just been thinking about the mileage issue. The mileage at Pocono was critical for Hondas to win. We're seeing a lot of that today. The best Chevy I've seen is a 28-lap stint out of power.
A stop for Marco Andretti, and this is on the early side. You really want to run it a little bit longer. I can tell you, at the same time behind him, they're getting set up for Castro Neves, which is a surprise because obviously Helio Castro Neves last time, he stopped after Scott Dixon. Now, as he approaches his pit box, he's stopping before Scott Dixon. Simona Di Silvestro leaves her pit box. He's going with sticker blacks. And he may have to wait a little bit for fuel like we saw for some others, but no, that was 7.9 seconds that we see behind that now Dixon is setting up, so they're almost on the same sequence.
Good stop and good way to clear that gun that we're talking about really earlier on in those pit stops. Get the thing out of the way so it's clear of the right front to give the driver free access.
If you have to.
So working lap 57 of 85. This has been a cracking pace in this race today, and if you've just joined us, caution free. There have been multiple incidents, but none severe enough to create a double yellow. Here is the race leader, Scott Dixon.
You're going to come around solid skies here. Right in on the
down
board
at 50 miles an hour. Here's Scott Dixon listening to my call on the radio with the sharp right-hand turn around the tires of Takuma Sato, who will come in just a moment. They've got the primary black tires to go for the last stint. We'll watch for Helio Castroneves on track. He's had a sizable lead all day. Was the stop good enough? It was a good one. 7.1 seconds for Dixon back out on the track. And let's look for Helio.
No, it's good. He's comfortable. He is comfortable.
It's a very, very good stop for Dixon.
And in fact, Dixon got out ahead of Will Power.
Yeah.
That's how much of a lead he had there as Helio Castroneves there.
Run 3 laps.
So nice work from Dixon. It shows you how dominant he's been today. That was super comfortable.
If I'm Helio Castroneves, I am screaming about Vautier's end fence on the back straightaway. Throw a yellow. That is a massive hazard.
There it is. There it was right there. Look. Yeah, I've got to say for Scott Dixon, absolutely fabulous work, and also for the Ganassi crew, they did wonderful work. They were very, very organized, very controlled, got the gun out of the way, good fuel delivery, and then helped Dixon away by pushing on the rear wing just to engage first gear and ease the clutch away. Everything that you want about a pit stop, Dixon just had right there.
Look at Simon Pagenaud using his little trick there on Tagliani. His left front tire is 5 inches off the concrete onto the asphalt. Will Power on pit lane.
Here. I don't know if you can hear me. Here we are. Get our mark.
Tim Cindric always talks it in. We're going to have 2 stops at the same time. Ryan Hunter-Reay swings around the outside. He has saved his sticker tires, has power. They're not going to make any front wing. Wow, that's way faster. And he swings by Ryan Hunter-Reay. We watch at the same time, and Ryan Hunter-Reay also with a quick stop. So it appears as though what they're doing, they took more fuel on their first stop so they can be faster on the second.
Out and amongst the traffic. Power, Hunter-Reay and Sebastian Bourdais all serviced.
No issue. Go as hard as you want. Drive as hard as you want. Got stuck behind some wankers.
Okay then.
Well then.
This is EJ Viso. EJ's been having a pretty decent run today as well in his Andretti Autosport machine, Brian.
Having a great run today. He's having a good season. It's great to be with Andretti Autosport. He told me the other day there's a lot of data that's transferred between the 4 cars. It's showing today. And now Viso back underway on blacks.
There we go. Watch your pit speed.
Boy, quite a lot of brake dust came out those front rotors there on Viso's car.
As fast as you can.
but they are incredibly meaty. The composite rotors, the carbon rotors on these cars, I don't think we're going to have any brake issues around here, but an incredible amount of dust came out in comparison to everybody else around him.
Yet to see EJ on a podium this year. He did get fourth. He came really close at Milwaukee. As we show you more of our dominant man today, this weekend, and the past 2 weekends.
Now, Lee, talk about pouring salt in the wound. Not only are those Ganassi cars lightning quick here at Toronto, look at the job Dixon's doing on his in and out laps relative to Helio Castroneves, flat out smoking them on both sides of the fence.
The time that you can bank, Townsend, on that in lap is so important because you're starting to pull it out of the account on the other side of it when you get onto cold tires. So every second, every split second on those hot tires at the end of that stint, push, 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 you get that time, put it in the bank, because when the tire pressures are low, when you come out of the pits, you'll want to make as much hay as you possibly can as the sun is shining, as they say.
If you have a competitive nature, you'll know what I'm talking about. These guys don't just want to win, they want to smash the opposition, and that's what this man is doing right now. 15 seconds out in front of the captain's guys. Helio Castroneves cannot do anything about Scott Dixon.
Sign a waiver?
Waiver?
Two seats, one for you and one for racing legend Mario Andretti. The fastest seat in sports sweepstakes. Enter for a chance to start an IZOD IndyCar Series race at shophonda.com.
The command has been given. Row 1, let me know. Row 1, on.
Live in-car cameras. 4-in-1 mosaic. Having your heart race as fast as theirs.
Very good for green.
That's powerful. Download IndyCar 13 now, only from Verizon. The drivers of Quicken Loans. Helio Castroneves, Ryan Newman, Will Power, and Tony Stewart. They are engineered to accelerate, engineered to dominate, engineered with muscle and brains, engineered for victory lane. For a home loan experience that's just as amazing as our drivers, call Quicken Loans, engineered to amaze.
Jessica, there's something I want to ask you.
Yes?
When I'm switching to winter tires, do I have to change all 4, or can I just put 2 on the front axle? I don't know.
There's a better place to ask questions about your tires. TireRack.com. Right now, get a $50 Firestone prepaid MasterCard and a Turbo Movie Pack when you buy a set of 4 select Firestone tires. For details, go to TireRack.com/TV. TireRack.com. Research, buy, deliver, install.
We first told you about this yesterday. In just 3 weeks' time, the NBC Sports Network is proud to present live coverage of the Auctions America California event from Burbank. Steve Matchett, who's with us this weekend, he'll be there to take a look at the cars like the 64 Shelby Cobra, the 57 Mercedes-Benz 300 SL Roadster, and this beauty, a 1947 Chrysler New Yorker Town & Country convertible. There's 7 hours of live coverage in total. Steve is pumped up. He's got plenty of Red Bull to get himself through. And that is on August the 2nd at 7 p.m. Eastern right here on the NBC Sports Network. That's new programming. We're really pleased to have the Auctions America event.
It's going to be a lot of fun. First auction I've covered, and I enjoy those auctions very much.
If you were with us yesterday, you'll know what we were just talking about in the ad break. This is a dramatically different race to yesterday's crazy and mayhem and incident-filled event. This has just been a clinic put on by Scott Dixon, who is 15.2 seconds out in front. Yes, there have been incidents, but we've been caution-free, and we are running at a rapid pace.
We're running at a rapid pace. Can you guys imagine how taxing this is on the drivers to do a doubleheader and to come back and go green this whole time? Apparently turn 5, by the way, we had a local yellow with Jakes. Let's see what happened.
This is it. Full course caution. So the trend continues. Oh, that's James Jakes. That was nasty. Wow. Dario is in. Now, did he make it in before they closed the pits?
If he did, this is going to be huge for him.
Clear.
This will really help.
Yeah, that'll be a massive help.
The question is, was he on pit lane on that pit commit before the caution was thrown? Race control apparently saying it's fine. He's going to come back out here in front of Viso, which would put him in P6, which really minimized the cost of a green flag stop.
So there's the whole Natro safety team out on track to check that area at turn 5. Help James Jakes. This was nasty.
What happened here? Let's watch.
Oh! I think he lost
break,
it. Well, I think he lost it on the curbing at the previous corner.
He wasn't pushing that hard, Steve. It's like his hand popped off the wheel.
Yeah, I wonder whether or not the curb just got underneath the car, took the steering away from him, and then he just lost it and understeered as a result of that.
But they've been running that curb all weekend.
Yeah, that's true.
It's bizarre.
It's bizarre how the weekend has unraveled for that young man. He was super quick earlier in the weekend. He was up there setting times with Franchitti and Dixon. He had a 10 grid spot penalty before yesterday's race for an engine change. And this is a talking point here at turn 5. Brian Barnhart, race director for this weekend, was saying that there is a 55-inch section between the track and
Did he hit the tires on the left-hand side?
Let's have a look at it in slow-mo. Now, right over the curb here, there was the bang on the steering. And as he comes down, look, his hand's off. His hand's off the steering.
I just can't understand why his hand came off. If it just flat slipped off, maybe he's perspiring so much.
I think that's exactly what it is. I think the steering was so much coming off that curb. When it hit back down onto the asphalt, the driver just lost the steering. I mean, literally lost the steering.
That's one of Bobby Rahall's guys, the 1986 winner. We'll be back.
Metal sticks to a magnet. Chevrolet Camaro ZL1 sticks to the road. With magnetic ride control that responds to road conditions hundreds of times faster than the blink of an eye. Precision handling, born from precision thinking. That's American ingenuity to find new roads.
When you have cable and can't find something good to watch, you get depressed. When you get depressed, you attend seminars. When you attend seminars, you feel like a winner. When you feel like a winner, you go to Vegas. When you go to Vegas, you lose everything. And when you lose everything, you sell your hair to a wig shop. Don't sell your hair to a wig shop. Get rid of cable and upgrade to DirecTV. Call 1-800-DirecTV.
Give me your street circuits, your ovals. Give me your road courses and your cathedrals of speed. Give me drivers who live to put it all on the line and cars unlike any other. Because this is America, and here we race IndyCar.
Sunday on the NBC Sports Network.
The cleanup continues at turn 5 here on the streets of Toronto as we welcome you back to our live coverage of the Honda Indy 2 in Toronto, this second doubleheader weekend of the year. And we are under our first full course caution of the day. This is Carlos Munoz, the 21-year-old sensation, the young Colombian. He leads the Firestone Indy Lights Championship at the moment. He was called in late last night to fill in for Ryan Briscoe, who unfortunately broke his wrist in an incident yesterday. And here is Ryan. He sent out a tweet late yesterday, said, I'm on my way to the hospital to get an x-ray, and it turns out there was a fracture in his right wrist.
Now, Lee, here's the incident from yesterday. It looked like relatively minor contact for Ryan Briscoe, but the amount of force coming back through the wheel, through the steering rod, broke his wrist. Now, just now, we see James Jakes with an accident, Steve. Is there just too much force coming on the bump now for James Jakes after doing a race yesterday in a full green flag stop that he just can't hang on anymore.
I think that's probably what we're seeing here, Taz, and I agree with you. We saw James Jakes just take his hand off the steering wheel, I think, as a response. Now, we have to remember, this is a double header. I wonder whether or not these guys, if we see them, they're fighting and fighting and fighting the cars every single corner of every lap on a double header. I think these guys are simply getting to the point of exhaustion with the race.
Now, Indy 500 champion Tony Kanaan has finally made it back to the pits. Jan?
Tony Kanaan, because of this caution, finally made his way back to pit road. What happened there on the exit, the corner right behind us?
Well, obviously, my car wasn't handling very well, so we decided on a 3-stop strategy. So I had to push as hard as I could to be able to keep ahead of the leaders. And on that out lap, I got a little bit of on the marbles there on the cold tire and made a mistake. I feel bad for the hydroxy cut guys because we had a pretty good weekend up until then. But it is what it is. My mistake, my bad. I apologize to my team, my fans, but. Sometimes we're humans as well. We make mistakes.
Tough day for Tony Kanaan. Thank you. Kevin?
James Jakes just got back to his pit stall here after this most recent incident. He's been struggling with an evil handling car to some extent, or at least I know he didn't have speed from listening to his radio. They were looking at replays up top. You tell us what happened.
Yeah, I just hit the curb and ripped the wheel straight out of my hands. You know, the kickback is unbelievable in these things, and when you're not quite dialed in with the dampers, it's a nightmare. So, yeah, frustrating days. The weekend started well. You know, we were qualified 5th for the first race with a penalty drop, so just move on to mid-O.
A lot of hand and wrist injuries. Are you okay? Okay, all right. Scott Dixon is still the leader. He's been dominant all day. Stay with us. More coming up from the streets of Toronto.
What if Bud Light created the world's biggest stage? And through the music experience of a lifetime. In every single state. On the exact same day.
For a chance to see artists like Miguel, Ludacris, and Dierks Bentley, check out budlight.com/music first. 50 shows, 50 states, one day.
Here we go.
Water was boring, so we changed it into a drink you can flavor your way. With Mio, add it to water, flavor it the way you want. Nothing's exploding. Let's change that. Mio is awesome!
Your car may have been born in 1997, but give it a new set of Firestone tires, and it could feel like it's fresh off the lot. Whatever you drive a Firestone.
Progress isn't about where you've been. It's about where you're going. The new Ram 1500. Best in class 25 mpg. North American Truck of the Year. The Truck of Texas. Better residual value than Ford and Chevy. It's the fastest growing truck brand in America. Guts. Glory. Ram.
Welcome back to Toronto, where Scott Dixon was leading till had a big lead till the yellow came out. And I'll tell you what, when Randy Bernard got the idea to have double headers in Indy cars, he said, you know what, let's try this. The guys in Detroit said we're all for it. But the guys that really wanted it more than anybody were Kim Green and Kevin Savory, the co-promoters here at Toronto. They got Honda of Canada behind them, but most importantly, they've got some of the most passionate open-wheel fans in the world. And you can see by the grandstands and the standing room only, this is starting to look like the old Toronto crowds back in the 80s and 90s, and it's going to take a while. But with James Hinchcliffe winning 3 races, it's too bad he's had a bad weekend, because if he'd had a good day yesterday, they'd have probably sold another 10,000 tickets. All I can tell you now, fellas, is if they have double headers, I don't know what the vote's going to be from the other tracks, but these guys want to keep a doubleheader for next year, and they're going to go buy James Jakes a steak for making this thing a race.
and Rob and Kim Green told me a little earlier today, we don't have a number on today's crowd, but yesterday was a fabulous Saturday crowd. So they've increased some of the grandstand sizes. They've included some additional grandstands. They've got a great fan area out the back. And as we were saying earlier in the show, folks, if you've never been to an IZOD IndyCar Series race, you've still got time this year, and there are some classic venues that we're going to.
Well, double headers are great, but if the drivers can't hold on to the steering wheels anymore, it's not so good for the guys in the cockpit. Let's see if these guys can actually hang on to the finish.
No start, no start, no start. No start.
No start right now. There's still a sweeper out on the track. We had 14 laps of caution yesterday, 2 full course cautions. That helped things. That packed them up. That spiced them up. And we're about to see more of that in a short while.
Now, yesterday, they didn't have enough time to sweep the track. It was a single file restart. We still have 16, 15 laps to go here. They're going to make sure they sweep it. They want a side-by-side IndyCar restart, and I guarantee you Scott Dixon is not happy about it. This is kind of neat here. Look at the speed of the cars on the freeway in comparison to Sebastian Bourdais blowing by there. Really gives you a sense of the speed of an Indy car.
Yeah. That was a few laps ago, just to give an example there of the speed comparison. I was standing outside this morning during the warm-up period around turns 6, 7, 8, and 9, and they are phenomenally fast around there. Very loud, but also incredibly good under braking.
You'll see Dario Franchitti come through the screen shortly, and one thing that really surprised me is he's out on black sidewall tires. Because remember, Townsend, you were talking about his first pit stop. Remember, he had contact on the start, came in and took those reds off. The regulations say you have to do 2 laps of green to satisfy the condition, but guess what they did? The team went to IndyCar and said, is this okay? Do we satisfy the condition? IndyCar said, yeah, we're okay with that. You can go with the black. So a big break. I know. He got hit on the first lap and came in. That's not 2 laps under green, but IndyCar said we're going to let you qualify.
Well, if there was a protest from Ganassi yesterday on the call power, let's see what happens here in turn 1.
Dixon gets the green. Here we go, back to racing. They pack up in turn 1. Lock up from Helio Castroneves. He's okay, though. Hunter Ray's trying to scramble through. Bourdais tucks in behind. Now the drag race up to turn 3. Dario is right with Will Power.
Look at
the
those
2 rivals are together again.
Look at the marbles offline. The guys that are forced offline are squirreling all over the place.
Look at mid-pack. Will Power takes the inside line. Franchitti right behind. Good stuff on that opening restart lap. Fairly smooth. It's tight, it's tough, and Dario on the inside of Munoz. Riding with Power.
That is Franchitti, of course, right behind in the number 10.
This is what we want to see. 14 laps to go. We've got Will Power and his good buddy Franchitti at Toronto. Who's going to take it?
We heard from Robin Miller earlier when Robin spoke to these 2 guys. It started at this morning's driver meeting. Dario walked in. Power was already sitting down. He said, what were you shaking your fist at me for yesterday? And Power said, because you put me in the wall.
I would love for Dario Franchitti to have a run on the back straightaway and see what happens when they get to turn 3. We might get it here.
Into turn 1.
Franchitti with 3, push to pass is left.
Franchitti has done an amazing job to get here to 6. Remember the problems he had on that opening lap. Came in and changed tyres, as Jan was just explaining to us, but worked his way right through the order to P6.
And let's not lose sight. Look at this Bourdais on the inside of Power. Squeezing. Can he get there?
Whoa,
maybe a slight touch. Power hangs tough.
13 laps to go.
What's going on with Dario Franchitti? He's really struggling to hold pace with Bourdais and Power.
There he is there. You see Bourdais up ahead in that chrome car. The True Car McAfee entry for Dragon Racing.
He seems to be back on it now. I wonder if he just got some marbles on his tires. It can take almost a lap to clean up your tires if you really get off into the clag.
How about Scott Dixon, race leader? In 2 flying laps, he's put 2.4 seconds between himself and second place Helio Castroneves.
How about this guy, Carlos Munoz? Never driven an IndyCar on a road course or a street circuit before. He gets 15 laps of warm-up practice. He is now all over the back of the 3-time champion.
So he's not vying for a good result. Munoz is down in 18th. He's 1 lap down. However, his lap times have been impressive.
It's unbelievable to think that you can come in on Sunday morning and put down the kind of times that he's putting here. Look at the traffic back here. This is Saavedra and Vautier trying to squeeze through Munoz. Now Munoz is learning a tough lesson. Well, maybe he's trying to be a good guy here. He's getting out of the way, but if you get out of the way on a street circuit, you can get off in the marbles. Look at Tagliani.
Look at this. Yes, it's Tagliani and Conway getting together. Look at this. Good save from Conway to keep it together. But it just goes to show how fast and furious it is on that restart.
Look at this, Bourdais on Ryan Hunter-Reay. That's a nice move for fourth spot. RHR comes back. They can't go two abreast through there. The final sequence of turns before they rip it onto the main straight one more time.
Now you see Dario Franchitti. He has found the pace in that number 10 target car, and he is pushing Hunter-Reay hard.
I think you hit it absolutely earlier on, Townsend, cleaning the clag off those tyres. It just caught him out for about half a lap, but he is back on it. But talking about back on it, Dixon's gap to Castroneves is now 4.1 seconds.
He is not hanging around. He wants that bonus $100,000. There was 50 grand on the line at the doubleheader in Detroit and Belle Isle. If one driver could win both of them, Mike Conway was unable to win the second. So that $50,000 jackpotted to this, the second doubleheader, $100,000 on the line. And Scott Dixon is within 10.5 laps of winning 3 races in a row and $100,000 extra.
You can tell here these guys are pushing hard with 11 laps to go, but they're also saying, I don't want to be the guy that makes the big mistake for the next yellow. Who's going to be the one to do it? But nobody's really changing order here. Somebody's going to have to get aggressive early. Conway pushing hard up under the car in front.
So Dixon, Castroneves, Power, Bourdais, Hunter-Reay 5th, Franchitti 6th, Vizo, Wilson, Kimball and Sato. That's your top 10. We'll be back to finish this off. You haven't missed a thing from Toronto, but there's going to be plenty of action in these closing laps. Welcome back. Our live continuing coverage of this 12th round of the championship. Charlie Kimball on the inside of Carlos Munoz. We were talking in the break about the 21-year-old Colombian. Maybe not winning the Firestone Indy Lights Championship would necessarily guarantee you a drive. But Townsend doing what he did at the Indy 500, finishing runner-up, and a good, clean, fast run here. This is the kind of drive that will get you a future drive in an Indy car.
No question. To be a second-place finisher at the Indy 500, run all the laps, you've got to be a big-picture thinker. He's probably kicking himself that he had to start last because he really had to give up the fight there on Kimball. A smart decision. He's one lap down. But if he was on the same lap, I believe this kid's got everything it takes to take it to the front.
Guys, I'm trying to pick up IndyCar as fast as I possibly can, and I'm having a thrilling time, but I just want to take you back to a comment earlier on about this rule about the tyres, red tyres. If you're supposed to run 2 laps on these tyres, surely that's a rule, isn't it? I mean, how does that work? I've got to think. I've got to think if I'm behind Franchitti and looking to pick up some points here, I want to be complaining.
The thought I was going to make was that if Power was mad about the Franchitti penalty coming away, imagine what the rest of the field is going to say about Franchitti seemingly dancing around the whole penalty. Let's listen.
Helio Castroneves runs second, 6.1 seconds behind Scott Dixon. Here's a message from his boss.
I tend to go. Will's got your back there. Will's got your back. He's behind you.
Good message from Roger Penske.
But if I'm Elio right now, I'm thinking to myself, yeah, just like Vettel had Weber's back. If Power gets anywhere close, I promise you Castroneves is going to be thinking he wants to win just as bad as I do.
Bourdais is P4. Hunter is P5.
So, keeping the picture clear, letting them know who is where. Helio Castroneves, if things remain the same for this last 5.5 laps, will remain the championship leader to the tune of 29 points. However, Scott Dixon will leapfrog Ryan Hunter-Reay. Dixon will move into second. His march for a third championship gains momentum with every lap.
Just watching Carlos Munoz mix it up with these guys. Again, he's a lap down, but doing a great job on pace. Ed Carpenter is off also at the exit of turn 5.
Okay.
Same spot.
Could this be the case of driver fatigue, Steve?
Full course yellow pisser.
So we saw a late race caution yesterday. Let's have a look at what happened to the Fuzzies man. Ed Carpenter, the only owner driver in the field. Whoa, and that is a nasty hit.
We don't know what happened at the apex, but the exit was certainly not as desired.
No one else around.
Yeah.
Well, it's just speculation, but Townsend, I wonder whether or not this is just more driver fatigue. When we were right to the end, we were closing 5 laps to go on a double header.
I can tell you from experience that if you do a street circuit, you do an 85-lap race in 80-degree temperature at a street circuit with the humidity. In the old days, we'd leave on Sunday, we'd go home and literally just lay down for 2 or 3 days to recover. These guys are having to do it 2 days in a row.
All right, we'll sneak in a quick break. We'll come back and fill in the picture as we're within 4 laps of the end of this race.
You may ask one question.
Which tire category should I choose to get the most comfortable ride?
There's a better place to ask questions about your tires. TireRack.com. Right now, get a $50 Firestone prepaid MasterCard and a Turbo Movie Pack when you buy a set of 4 select Firestone tires. For details, go to TireRack.com/TV. TireRack.com. Research, buy, deliver, install.
At Honda, we know you. We know how you like to move at your own pace. And how you don't always see everything coming. Introducing a car that starts with you. The more powerful, more responsive, all-new Accord from Honda.
Honda, proud partner of the IZOD IndyCar Series.
All summer long. Experience the thrill of thoroughbred racing at its finest. From the place where it all began. Summer at Saratoga begins July 27th at 5 Eastern on the NBC Sports Network.
To the end of round 12, the Honda Indy 2 in Toronto, under our second full course caution. So for the second time, Scott Dixon sees a sizable lead evaporate. That's Emma Davies Dixon, Scott's wife. And she's saying, come on, as he did in Pocono. She was willing him home to get his first win of the year. He did that in spectacular style. What a day it was for Target Chip Ganassi Racing, with all 3 drivers finishing 1, 2, 3. First time that Chip Ganassi has achieved that ever. I mentioned the points earlier before we went to the break. There they are in the top right-hand side. Dixon would continue his march forward. So he made up 3 positions at Pocono. He made another position yesterday. He'd make another position today and leapfrog Ryan Hunter-Reay. And Castro Neves is the only man to complete 100% of the laps this year, and that's why his run at the top of this championship has been so impressive. Elio has been consistent. Now remember, as we see Chip Ganassi, Castro Neves is known as a hero in IndyCar because of his 3 Indy 500 wins. Elio has never won a championship. Dixon has won it twice.
He hasn't won a championship, and the freight train that is breathing down his neck is actually right in front of him now. What's going to happen on this restart? It should be side by side.
Let's see. Scott Dixon felt as though he got robbed yesterday when Sebastian Bourdais took off on him. They've been told to make it double file. There's a special restart zone, and Dixon's determined to stay in front. Here we go to the end. Down to turn 1. The Penske boys are ganging up. Bourdais goes around the outside of Will Power. Can they hang on? They cannot hang on.
That's Hunter-Reay and Will Power. Big contact to the wall. Sato also involved.
Sato at the back. Ryan Hunter-Reay also in the wall.
That was ugly.
That looked to me like Will Power just trying to hang a wheel in there and just got into the right rear of Hunter-Reay, pitched him into the fence.
As you imagine, full course caution flies.
Oh, boy.
Oh, what a weekend this has been for Ryan Hunter-Reay. The man who won last year has had a very difficult time.
You can see Emma thrilled, thinking this is going to finish under yellow and Dixon should win easily. I wonder if Hunter-Reay looks in the mirror and sees Sato and thinks not again, even though it wasn't, to me, didn't look like Sato's fault. And Power obviously can't steer through the corners anymore, so he's off in the runoff area.
This has been a weekend to forget too for Will Power, a superstar of road and street courses. This has been a tough one.
With 2 laps to go, can you believe it? All the effort to get to where they were in this race.
And through all of this madness and through some unbelievable driving, I'll tell you more about Mike Conway in a moment, but let's watch this closely and look in the top 5. Hunter Ray tries to go around the outside of Bourdais. They're lined up 3 into turn 1. In the middle, the chrome car is Bourdais. And now power got loose there. He accelerates and his rear left hits Hunter Ray's front right.
My mistake. Hunter Ray was forcing the issue to the outside, and I don't think Will Power had any idea somebody was creeping there, and Hunter Ray was just taking too much.
On board with Power.
So right there, Power will have no idea that a car is trying to force the issue on the outside, and they just run out of road.
Here it is.
Look at Hunter Ray. He's almost 3 wide going into turn 1.
Yeah.
He wisely backs off. At this point, as you said, Lee, Power gets a little sideways, works up the track, but there's no spotters on street course racing like there is on an oval.
I think it was that concrete again, wasn't it, Townsend? For Power just got on that concrete. Look. Oh!
And Sato totally innocent there.
Yeah.
Good sound. That gives you a sense of the force of impact.
Will Power out of the car. And he shakes, and understandably so.
Yeah. Frustration, disbelief, annoyance, whatever it is, all of them.
And what about the defending series champion, Ryan Hunter-Reay? There he is, he gets out of the car. This is the final lap of the race. What a weekend it has been for Scott Dixon. This is incredible. 3 wins in a row and a $100,000 bonus to Scott Dixon. 3 in a row, says Emma. And there's the boss. This has been an unbelievable run. They had 1, 2, 3 on the podium in Pocono last weekend, and now this is 3 consecutive wins for Scott Dixon.
How about Sebastian Bourdais? Double podium. First ever podium yesterday for Dragon Racing, and they back it up again today with a 3rd place finish despite having no push to pass inventory the entire race. And then you look at a Dario Franchitti, fourth from dead last, although there's a question mark there.
Yeah, there is, over this tyre regulation concerning the use of the red tyre. 2 complete racing laps.
Here's Jan.
And what a dream weekend for Target Chip Ganassi Racing. Didn't we just do this yesterday? What a great job.
Well, it's good to have this kind of Groundhog Day with you and NBC Sports. We're really happy about that. We're happy about the Target car. The performance of that was really good all weekend. Scott was certainly on form. I think Dario had a little misfortune there at the front end, or he would have been tough to deal with also. So we're happy for the whole team.
Wow, what a fantastic effort. $100,000 in the pocket for Scott Dixon, and this team is definitely on a roll. They've been struggling this season, and now today, man, they just took it to everyone.
The doubleheader weekend here in Toronto has given us a weekend to remember, and this is a weekend to celebrate for Scott Dixon. 3 races in a row, Pocono and 2 here in Toronto. This is his time, Kevin.
Scott Dixon wins 3 in a row for the 2nd time in his career. He did it back in 2007, and just like yesterday, this is Groundhog's Day. He slipped off the top of the car yesterday, but no worries for our friend from New Zealand. How many times have you had this dominant of a day?
It's been a long time, and, you know, I'm so thankful for it. Once again, I want to thank everybody for coming out today. Toronto fans, just, you know, there's something special and fantastic to see everybody out here today. A little harder today. The race was a little more faster paced, I think, than yesterday's one, so I was definitely trying to hang on there. But I think it's been since, well, maybe, I don't know, 03 or 08 since we've had that kind of run with 3 in a row. 07. So I'm just so happy for the team. That's where we're just 2nd place in the points now, 27 or 29 points out from Alio. You know, it's what a turnaround in a couple of weeks. You know, it's a big deal for us, and, you know, I just hope we can keep it going here. It's great to have all my family here this weekend. My mum came in, Emma, and obviously Poppy and Tilly, so it's great to spend that time with them here this weekend, but what a crazy weekend.
And an extra $100,000?
Hey, the $100,000's good, but I'd rather take the points. You know, the points are what we're here for, and I guess if you win the points race, you get $1 million. So we'll narrow down and try and go for that. But I want to thank everybody here in Toronto, Honda, obviously, and Target.
It's been a big week here for Target, obviously in Canada, and all the big boys were here today, so it was good to see.
Great drive. Congratulations.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Scott Dixon, number 32 now, sole position of 7th on the all-time wins list. Jan?
And you hear him talking about championship points, and the man who really is thinking championship points, Helio Castroneves, another great payday for you.
Yeah, certainly. Remember what I told you at the beginning of the race. We're going to put all our chips today, which is where we're starting better, and we did. The car was awesome. In fact, the Hitachi boys did a hell of a job, you know. I want to thank, obviously, PPG, Shell, Verizon, I don't know. There's so many. Let me see. Verizon, AAA. I guess I got all of it. Anyway, so it was amazing. He was in another league, Scott and the Ganassi guys, completely different. I was pushing as hard as I could. I had a very good car, don't get me wrong, but those guys, whatever he's taking for breakfast, I want it. Tell me, Scott, what are you taking for breakfast? Because, man, that was something.
It was a classy performance. Do you think now, after that yellow, do you think that there was a chance? Did you have anything once they cooled off?
Realistic, you know. The guy was leading the whole race about, 13 seconds ahead. I'm sure he didn't want to see the yellow. I didn't want to see it either because, to be honest, it was very tough to hold on. And I only have one push to pass. I was trying to be smart using the push to pass to keep up with Scott. And again, I was going for it, but unfortunately in the end it was very hard. He was smart. He's not a rookie, and again, we gotta work, but we're very happy with a good second place.
And Castroneves, of course, making that consistency pay.
And these drivers will tell you they don't look at the statistics, they don't look at the record, but they do, and they know who is very strong at Mid-Ohio, the series' next race, and it is Scott Dixon's playground. That's what the championship points look like now. Dixon in second over the man who crashed out late in the race, Ryan Hunter-Reay. Boy, we had it all today. It was a cracking pace with a dramatic end. Dixon dominant. Not only does Scott Dixon have 2 IZOD IndyCar Series championships and an Indy 500 win, he is now the most successful active driver. 7th on the all-time wins list with 32, and look at the legends ahead of him. This is a very special time in Scott Dixon's career. Another man on that board is Sebastian Bourdais, and he's with Brian.
Hey, you talk about legends when you talk about IndyCar. Sebastian Bourdais is certainly one of them, but Sebas, what a great day. I mean, you guys struggled all year long, and now 2 podiums in a row, and you did it without push to pass today. How difficult was that?
Well, it was really hard, and it was from 7th place, so we had to be on the move, and all these restarts, I thought they were going to be against us because I was just a sitting duck in the back straight, and, it just so happened that things turned out our way, and 2 great restarts could just make the moves and make it stick, and then I had a really good car on the restart. The car was really hooked up, and Brian passed me, I passed him back, and I had to be, like I said, I had to be on the move. If I was standing still, I was just another target. So I knew as soon as Ryan passed me, I had to get him back, and he was struggling. I think that changed tire pressure something after the last pit stop, and that wasn't working clearly. It was really tentative in the braking, and I went for it. Worked out.
Worked out well. Now, another great run on the racetrack. Hopefully the performance over in Victory Lane with the trophy be a little better today than it was yesterday. Jan?
Well, you talk about better today than yesterday. This whole weekend really hasn't gone the way that Ryan Hunter-Reay had hoped. Talk about this incident. You went around the outside, and then you looked like you were trying to get out of it.
Well, Will was coming out from the bottom. I had a good run going on the outside. I was right next to him. And he was sliding across the patch. I talked to him in the car that took us back, and he just said he got loose on the bottom, and he just drove right up into us. There's 2 lanes going through there. Everybody kind of respects that, and I don't think he drove into me on purpose, but took us out of the race. Just had a good start going, had a decent car. We hung on today. That's what I was doing. I think we had a chance at a podium, maybe a 4th. Would have been happy with that, but DHL Chevy was a little bit of lack in grip this weekend, and we were just trying to hang on. Had a good race. I really tried hard to just keep it right there. Got up to 3rd at one point, and we got taken out again.
Tough day for Ryan Hunter-Reay. The crew worked very hard last night, changed the entire braking system. That worked, but he didn't get that break he wanted today.
And that contact with the wall would not help his sore thumb that it was injured in Pocono either. So a rough trot for Ryan Hunter-Reay. When we come back, we'll talk to another Ganassi driver, Dario Franchitti, on the other side.
big guns came out to play on cycling's most grueling climb. Who stood tall? Find out next on NBCSN.
Welcome back to the streets of Toronto, and of course we opened the door saying there was potential controversy with the tires that were used for Dario Franchitti. I had an opportunity on the way up to Victory Circle to talk to Kevin Blanche of IndyCar, who handles the technical side. He said there is a specific provision only for double race weekends that if you damage a tire, they will waive the responsibility. You have to do 2 laps because they feel the teams don't have that many red sets of tires. So Dario caught a break by a special provision only for double race weekends. Everything's cool. No protest on the way. Kevin?
Thanks, Jan, for tracking that down. Kevin?
Yeah, so thanks for clarifying that. We're all in the clear. What a day. What a day for Dixon. What a day for Castro Neves. Maintains the lead. Bourdais, double podium. There he is. He's holding on to the trophy firmly today. Nicely done. And how about a couple of other interesting results? EJ Vizo getting his best road/street course result. Did a really nice job there. Charlie Kimball hung tough. Mike Conway made up 16 positions. And Justin Wilson, a strong day as well. And Alex Tagliani equaling his best result of this year.
Great for Alex, hometown kid here in Canada. Joseph Newgarden having another strong run to 11th. And on down the list, particularly impressed, Steve, by Carlos Munoz, the rookie, with no preparation.
Did a great job coming in at the last minute. Hey, do you think you can drive this car for us? Yeah, I'll give it a go. I only did give it a go. What's really impressed me today really is the performance of the Ganassi cars. Dario Franchitti and Scott Dixon. They must have done some fabulous damper work overnight. I'm guessing everyone would have learned from the first race, but boy, the performance of those guys today, outstanding.
Well, we had David Hobbs at the Milwaukee Mile. We've had you here this weekend. Did you enjoy it?
It's been absolutely fabulous, and thank you very much for all your hospitality, both here at NBC Sports Network with the IndyCar guys and also the Indy Series. Everybody's been absolutely wonderful. Thank you very much.
But you especially enjoyed that GoPro course preview, didn't you?
Never again. Thanks very much, but never again.
Townsend,
my pleasure.
Townsend, we turn our attention to Mid-Ohio. Dixon has been dominant there over the last half dozen years. This is looking good for his title run, isn't it?
It's a Target Ganassi freight train, and I can't wait for that event. A wonderful track, beautiful part of the country.
Well, speaking of beautiful, that's what it's been this weekend here in Toronto. The 28th time that open wheel cars have run here on the streets. This is a classic circuit for the series, and it's turned it on once again. We encourage you at the top of the hour to turn on, stay with us for the Tour de France. That's coming up at the top of the hour. Mid-Ohio coming up in several weeks, August 4th at 3 o'clock Eastern, right here on your home of open wheel racing. You can stay up to date with everything on the NBC Sports website. That's NBCSports.com. Congratulations to Scott Dixon, $100,000 richer and a triple race winner. We'll see you soon.
The NBC Sports Network thanks you for watching this presentation of the IZOD IndyCar Series.